What is good, family? This is your girl. I am Courtney Michelle, and I am back with a live. I feel like I haven't done a live in a long time. Actually, it has been a long time. I've been around these YouTube streets running my mouth, but there has been a lot going on, um, particularly with a video that you guys saw in the thumbnail that I want to talk about. But I think it goes a little bit deeper that I wanted to discuss and bring some things up. So I wanted to come on this Saturday morning. So welcome everybody. Come on in, join the kid. We are about to have a amazing conversation. So I'm gonna go ahead and get into it. I have a lot to, guess maybe break down. And you guys, I'm doing this off the cusp because, like I said, my mind has been racing. It's been so much I wanted to say, but I just didn't have or really didn't know how I could put it all together. So I'm going to try to do it today. So let's go ahead and get in it. Everyone has seen this viral clip that has gone around. Everyone has done a reaction video. And for me, I wanted to take my time with it. I was actually blessed. Shout out Alan from We Need to Talk. He had this young lady on. And of course, if you don't know what viral video I'm talking about, it is the infamous woman that rejected the nuclear physicist. Yeah, the internet was going wild. So again, on We Need to Talk, I had the opportunity to talk to her, and I want to break down that conversation and kind of give my thoughts and opinions on it. And of course, you guys, I want you to join in with me. Let me know what you think about the discussion, and we're going to go from there. Now, if you've been living under a rock and you haven't seen the video, I'm going to bring it up. It's not long. Okay. Literally like 2 minutes and 15 seconds, but I'm going to bring it up so you guys know what we're referencing just in case, again, you was living under a rock and haven't seen it. So let me go ahead and bring that up. And then we gonna get in it, baby. Yes, sir. Let's go.
How old are you?
I am 27. I look a little young. I'm not that young.
Yeah, you look young.
So where do you live?
So I'm actually in the Woodlands, Texas right now. Right down there by Houston. I'm about 30 minutes away from Houston. So I'm a little close.
Oh, nice. Okay, so tell me a little bit about yourself.
Man, where do I start? I like martial arts a lot. I did a bit of pharmacy back when I was a little bit younger, about 2-3 years ago. I got certified at pharmacy around when I was 17. I didn't really do anything with it. I went to university for a while. I was getting like a business degree. So I have a bachelor's in business. And then I did pharmacy for a little while, for about 3 years, and then got bored. So I was like, let's go see what the military has to offer. Didn't do anything. I did my PICAT about a year ago. Got a 96 on that. It goes up to a 99. Got a 96. They offered me nuclear physics, and I was like, why the fuck not? So I went there, and now I ship out in a few days.
Oh, okay, nice. Well, best of luck as you ship out pineapples.
Yeah.
Damn.
Why?
Because he literally didn't tell me any qualities about himself. He's just like, I made a 96 on this. I did this. And I feel like I did that at first too. But however, I need a man with some personality.
You felt that quick? You know you didn't have personality?
Yes, I remember.
So I do that in a few.
So she dismissed him. They call it pineapples because he didn't have a personality. However, in that 2 minutes, that man had a lot to say. Let me start it off by this. I think women, particularly Black women, I want to say our pickers are off. And when I first saw that clip, I thought to myself, man, she doesn't know what good attributes that a man has that could be a great provider, and what we need to, as women, particularly Black women, need to be looking for in a mate. So I came with that kind of perception and was like, man, women don't know how to pick our pickers, and we don't know how to pick our man. And the more that I thought about it, and the more conversations that I had with particular women, my attitude has changed. I don't think it's the idea that we don't know how to pick a good man. I think we absolutely do know what it takes and what we need. I think the problem is that we're not willing to, we don't want them. When we're in our 20s and in school, in college, working a career, we know what we need, but we pass them up because we don't want that. We don't want to be with a man that can take care of us, that can provide, that can protect. Not in our 20s. We want the personality. Some people would call it a bad guy. Some people will call it, in this space, you call it a Pookie and Ray Ray. I call it immaturity. I am here to emphatically say, from my experience and to the experience of a lot of women that I've been able to talk to, we're immature. And we want things now. We want things very impulsive. But what we need, we're willing to wait for. You guys know I have a 6-year-old daughter. And birthdays, Christmas, what do you think she wants? You think she wants the things that she needs? No. She needs clothes. She needs some drawers. Okay. But what she wants is the fun stuff. She wants the toys and the play makeup and the purses, all the fun stuff that looks good. And the things that she needs, she looks past it. She looks her nose up. Mama, I don't want this. I want something fun so I can play with for now. Because she's immature. She doesn't know what she needs. And it's unfortunate that Black women, and I'm saying this because I'm clearly Black and I know about my people in my community, is we're not taught to be, as women, mature women in 20s. We're taught that maturity comes with age. Maturity comes when you're done going out in the world, catching bodies, doing everything that you want to do, you living a selfish life like a child. This is what you're supposed to do. And then once you hit 30, 35, then you become responsible. Then you look for a man that can be a great provider, a great husband. Only then. And the more that I'm talking to women, and even in their 20s, they still have this mind frame. So for me, and the frustration I think that I have is that we get on these YouTube streets and talk, and we, tell our experience, but then the generation before us doesn't seem to get it either. These women are still having the mind frame of, I can wait. I have time. I have time for a man. I have a time for a husband. I have time for a family. But right now, I'm doing me. I'm not ready. And I'm here to say that that is absolutely incorrect. And women today in our 20s, it has to be ingrained in something different. And if it's not their parents teaching them, then I don't know how else they're going to get it unless it's women my age, 35, 39, 40, literally saying it. But it's unfortunate that I'm not hearing it. So I guess I'm running my big ass mouth to say it. It's not that we don't know. We just think we have time to get it. Black women think that we have all the time in the world to make the correct decisions, the most responsible decisions that will affect our lives forever. We think we have time to do it. And we don't. Let me go. I'm going to, like I said, I talked to her. It's an interesting conversation. Very chilled. You know, I get chilled. I can get hype. But this one, I decided to go kind of chill with her. So I want to play the conversation that I had with her and kind of see where her mind frame is at. And again, what I'm thinking and what I know for sure. She told me in so many words, and other women have. And I'm going to bring that up too. So let's get to the discussion that I talked to her about. So let's go. Interesting. And I know the interview that you did prior to, you kind of made a mention that it was like older women and the baby mamas that was giving you pushback. So tell me a little bit more about that, because that's what I want to maybe dig in a little deeper on.
Oh, it was literally just so many women. And then I also think I was kind of surprised and just like how cruel they were to me, because it definitely was a lot of older women. So I would say a lot of women that were like later in their 20s, maybe early 30s. I definitely was like going through the comments, and it was definitely like, you know, some single moms and stuff. I literally, like I was telling him earlier, that I had somebody I dialed in on the show or whatever, and this one young lady, she was just telling me, she was just like, well, you know, I'm older than you, and once you're older, like your dating pool goes down. And so, but to me, I think my question was, it was like, okay, so since y'all are coming at me, is that the only thing that you guys prioritize in a relationship?
What do you mean prioritize in a relationship?
Like him being a scientist or a physicist? Because a lot of it was, I guess for me, a lot of it was literally just like, oh, she turned him down again. How dare she? Because he is a nuclear physicist.
Okay. So I wanted to discuss that with you because I think it's important. There's a lot of reasons why I think you got a lot of pushback for older women. I am older than you. Okay. Yeah. And I fit that narrative of an older woman. I have a child and I'm not married. And I think the pushback that you were getting from a lot of women was what we were seeing was not necessarily just a job. And let me explain that a little bit. When you get older, life hits you, but those that are wise learn from mistakes. They have incredible insight. And with that insight, for those that can see a woman maybe not necessarily going down their road, but showing attributes of what they did back when they was 20, sometimes like it's a scary movie and we're like, no, baby, we see something in this man, or we see this, and we don't want you to turn out or be like a lot of Black women have become, where in our 20s, we didn't prioritize family, we prioritized work and opening up businesses and traveling the world in our 20s. And then we realized that we don't have time, and that time that we spent focusing on that, it's lost. And then you become 30, 35, and a lot of opportunities that you could have had to establish a family, which other cultures do, we pass it. And then you become like a lot of Black women have become. So I think the backlash wasn't just his job. It's just seeing that you prioritized a lot of what we did. And there's a lot of women that wish they could go back to 23 and understand that maybe the priority should be focused on family while you're still in your prime. And that priority. Mm-hmm.
Go ahead. I totally understand that, but I also feel like, again, there was definitely the misconception that, because what I was saying was, and how I said it, which I looking back on it, and I was talking to multiple people, I probably should have explained it a little bit better when I said what I said, but I feel like how I said it was just like so blunt and it wasn't a lot of context to it. But what I was saying was, I wasn't saying that I'm only prioritizing those things for myself. What I was saying is I want a partner to do those things with me who isn't only just talking about his accolades.
I'm going to remove that because I want to talk a little bit about that and explain what I meant for her. It's unfortunate that a lot of us that are older are learning it now. It's unfortunate that a lot of us wasn't taught that. And I can definitely go into depths on maybe why. I don't know if I'm going to do it on this show. It might be a next one because that gets a little deeper. But I will say this. If you watch the video and in that 2 minutes, the young man came on with a book. The young man said that he does martial arts and he's shipping off, I believe, to the Navy and the job that he's getting. And in those minutes, my ear was tingling because I was able to listen to the other sides of it. What I heard, because the young lady and a lot of young ladies just heard he had a good job. And is that all I need is a good job? I need more and more and more. What I heard was a man that does martial arts. He's disciplined, athletic, a protector. In that instance, that's what I heard. Him shipping off means that he's going to travel the world. Him reading a book means he's well read. Him having a good job, benefits, being a provider, being able to take care of a family. Literally, that's what I heard. And to hear her just say it was a good job, I wanted to shake the shit out of her and to be like, no, it was so much more. And that man might not have been the man for you, but he definitely deserved the opportunity to get to know. And if we're not telling young women or teaching them how to do it, and not even teaching them how to do it, but teaching them that this is the time when you're 23, 24, 25, where you're in your prime. Now, a lot of us think, and I did too, well, I mean, I'm cute. I'll be cute at 30. So what's wrong with 30? I'm more mature and I'm more able and maybe more responsible for a family. And that's an idea. But when you're in your prime, when you're in your 20s, you have less baggage. And that's not what's being talked about. Now, men to say the body count low, and I'm gonna tell you, man, the women gonna lie. So I don't even know if you want to ask that question. There's other ways that you can find that out. But you have less baggage when you're 20, less heartache, less relationship issues, less debt. You're not jaded. More as far as being fertile. You have such an abundance to give to a relationship when you're younger because you're not tainted by the outside world. You're not tainted by experiences that can change your outlook and your perception of life. And that is the core thing that needs to be talked about. It's not just because you're pretty in your 20s, which has something to do with it. But it's what else comes along when year by year you live in this world, you live in this life, and you date and you get hurt and broken and live this experience. And then by 30, by 35, everything that you've seen, you're collecting baggage. You just might as well be little Santa Claus and just putting shit in a bag and you're carrying it on you. And then you want to take that and present it to a man. You want to take your luggage and have him open it up and unpack it because now I'm ready. But guess what? This readiness comes with children. This readiness comes with ideas. And maybe I don't think men are good because I've been broken so many times because I don't understand or I'm not mature enough to understand what a real relationship and a real man is. You're wanting men to be good to you with all of your luggage. And that's not fair. It's not fair that you want to wait until you've experienced everything. And all those experiences, let's be honest, okay? Some of the stuff that I went through at 28, 29 could have been, didn't even have to happen. But me putting myself, being uncovered, not having a husband, me putting myself as a woman in the world, trying to take on things that honestly God didn't ordain for me to. And now I want to find someone that would take care of it. Make that make sense. It doesn't. It's important that we teach our girls, our young women, that your prime equates to a whole lot besides just your looks. Some of it is you don't have to taint yourself. And you don't have to go through things by yourself to get experience, to fall flat on your face. And I say flat on our face because right now we're at a time where that's what we're doing. Let's go back. There is more to this conversation. Let's go. And I'm going to talk about time with her a little bit. Let's listen.
Really? I didn't see him in person. He's definitely fine. But I'm gonna say this though too, because I had somebody touch on this because they were like, oh, if they were probably famous or something. I don't necessarily feel like that's always the answer either. Mm-hmm. So,
well,
I don't.
I like I said, as far as an older woman, and I just want to speak about, because I know that you said about, the older women kind of like checking you and being mad and maybe saying some stuff that was uncool. But yeah, it is when we've been 23 before, but you haven't been 39 before. And so when we see a thing and we see a beautiful Black woman that has all the opportunities in the world, and when we hear her say some things that we also said when we were back in our 20s and thought that we have time, and I'm just here to tell you the biggest lie that anyone can tell you as a Black woman, a woman in general, is that you have time. That eventually I'm going to have a man. Eventually he's going to come. Eventually God will bring him. For a lot of us, that eventually waits and it waits. And the older that you get, it's the less opportunities that you have.
Can I ask you a question? Why do you feel like that is? Because I keep hearing people say that. So what about it that makes you feel like you don't have as many opportunities?
Well, first, being fertile. So let's be honest, a man wants legacy. A man wants to have a family. The older that you get, the less you're able to reproduce. So let's just say you do everything, travel the world, and here you're 30. And now you're like, okay, now it's time for me to get a man. Now you got to vet in the process and the dating. But these men are also having younger women that are able to give them more children. So the older that you get, by 35, baby, them eggs is about to be dust. And when you hit 40, it's like, so you don't have this span of time. And time goes by so quick.
Time definitely does go by fast.
And let me tell you, when I go back to my reunions, my 10-year, 15-year reunions, beauty fades as well, too.
Oh, yeah.
Your metabolism, what'd you say?
I said for sure.
Yeah. So your metabolism will slow down. So that cellulite. So as women, men is opposite. Usually men get a little better in time. They get better jobs, better assets, better benefits. They get the little old distinguished look. It's opposite for us. So now is your time. And I think when we're just like, don't pass up your time like a lot of us have. And when we see someone that might have potential, that seems to be interested in it, he came back up, and then that man said something about Jesus. Now, I love my Lord. That's funny because, I do love my Lord. That video and the young lady, I know she told me that she got a lot of backlash, and I was surprised that it was women giving her the backlash, older women, of course, because I do think older women understand. I just don't think that we are relaying it well to the women that are younger to us. And I'm here to say that is our responsibility. It takes a village. And part of the village is teaching our young. And it's not our children only. It's the ones that our children are going to be dating. She's going to have kids. My daughter needs a husband. It's important that we also help our community. We're not in here by ourselves. We're not doing it alone. And we can't say we're pro-Black and how we all pro everything, but yet we're leaving these young sisters behind, that we're leaving our young brothers behind without any knowledge. And it's unfortunate as well that some of the stuff that we have to hold these people accountable for, their parents aren't doing it. Now, whether they don't know is a whole other thing, or trauma, but some of the parents aren't doing it. So who are they going to learn it from? The Meg Thee Stallions, the Cardi B's, the Young Miamis, which I'm going to talk about her in a minute too. Our image, and I've said this multiple times, and I'm going to continue to say, is that our image is important. And if they're not getting it from home, then where are they going to look at it? Where are they going to see it? Maybe a young woman right now will randomly come to my live and listen to me as a 39-year-old woman, letting you know that you don't have all the time in the world. And you don't. Let's look at some stats. So this is, of course, we always like to look at blackdemographics.com, and this is the Black marital status. So in general, what it is saying is that 30% of Black people are married. 30%. 50, half of us have never been married. Black men, 33% are currently married. Black women, 27%. So currently, right now, 27% of Black women are not married. Let's look at it as a whole. We've already talked about 30% that our race are married. But if you look at Hispanic, white, and Asian, we're the lowest. We're the lowest at being married currently, but we're the highest at never being married. We're missing it. We're wanting to know how other cultures are doing so much better than us financially. Hell, even their image is a hell of a lot better than ours. I'm here to tell you that our families are missing. Our families are the ones that give us our morale. Our families is the one that, and especially our fathers, are the ones that give us our image, that gives us our self-worth. And by not having that, I don't even know why I'm getting emotional. Let's look at some more stats. I guess I'm getting emotional because it pisses me off. It pisses me off because I'm getting it and I'm knowing it. And I wish I had these tools back then. But since I didn't, and I see someone that reminds me of me, and it's like, damn, girl, you have opportunities now that you don't know, that you're going off your feelings. In the interview, it's I feel, and I feel, and I feel. Feelings, being happy, sad, they're fleeting. And we're so focused on the now. And women, I've always said, we're impulsive. And damn that. Women are like children. Prove me wrong. We want things now. We don't think about the future. That's the reason why we have to have a man. We have to have a leader. It's the reason why we can't carry everything on our own. And while we're suffering from depression, while we're suffering from stress and a lot of disorders, eating, drinking, drugs, the over excessiveness that we do is because we are putting ourselves in situations that was not ordained. We were ordained to be wives and mothers. And when we get out of order, it harms not only us physically, emotionally, mentally, but it affects our communities and it affects our children. So this is the average age that when we are getting married, the average age of the women that are getting married, median in age. And as you can see, every other particular culture, it's usually averaging 20s, late 20s, but not us. We're waiting. The lowest people are people that are getting married less. We're waiting longer. And in that longness of 32.5, what do you think is going on in our 20s? A whole decade of doing what? What are we doing in our 20s? Having children, getting hurt. People say getting on the penis carousel, the cock carousel, all that. A whole 10 years of doing what? Collecting baggage. And then at 32, we're wanting to drop it off at a man to deal with. I'm going to get back to the interview, but there was a show that I did. And her sentiments of waiting, her sentiments of wanting it all, thinking that maybe she can get it all, or not understanding what should be priority. That is a common theme within our culture, within our women. And it's just sad to see that if that reality doesn't change, and if we don't change our priorities, and if we don't make family first, then we're going to slowly decline. Not slowly decline, hell, it's going to decline even more. That 30% is going to go down to 25%. We're losing our culture due to not having families and not prioritizing and putting it first. Before I play the clip that I was on, because I want to dig into that, there was Young Miami, part of the City Girls. She's apparently dating Diddy. I don't get all into the celebrity crap, honestly, but again, what she said and the ideas that a lot of our women are having, it's rampant. And women with bigger platforms that are the city girls that are unfortunately influencing our women are saying the exact same thing. Let's bring it up.
Yeah.
And like I love hard too.
Yeah.
So it's like right now I just really want to focus on my career.
Yeah.
And I want to have fun. That's why I'm just dating.
Mhm.
Because it's like when I'm in love, they kind of just be like my focus. It's a lot. Like you got to
Yeah.
put another person, you know, feelings first, and
Yeah.
you got to compromise. And it's like certain stuff that I might have to do with work, a person might not agree on.
Yeah.
And I got kids to feed, so I feel like love will come, you know, later
Yeah.
on down the line for me. So do I still believe in love? Kind of, sort of, but niggas ain't shit.
I hear that.
This was what, a couple days ago. Of course, that mentality, the niggas ain't shit, that ain't stopped. It's wrong. Now it's some. But what are you putting in the atmosphere? What are you putting for young girls to see? First, that you're 28 years old and you want to have fun. Again, thinking that you have time. It's the time thing that women don't seem to get. And unfortunately, it's a time thing that children don't seem to get. Women's mentality are childlike. My daughter, she want to get braids like me. So I have an appointment set for her within a week for her to get braids. So she comes to me, Mommy, when is my hair appointment so I can get my braids? And I'm like, well, it's in a week. It's in 7 days. You know, she broke down. 7 days. It's so long, Mom. I need my braids. 7 days. And I'm looking at her like, do you know how quick that week is about to come up like that? She doesn't have the understanding of time. She doesn't get that 7 days is going to come in a twinkling of an eye. She thinks 7 days is just this long, drawn out period that, I'm about to say a word. It's this long, drawn out thing, and that if she doesn't get it now, then she's going to have to wait a whole long time to get what she wants. And I have to, as a mother, tell her that, baby, that time is going to come up quick. Why are you worried about it? It's going to come. 7 days like that. But she doesn't understand. And with our women today, they don't understand that being 23 turns into 30 quick. I was on a panel, the Kay and Kayla show, and again talking to other women. It's just fascinating to me that it is a theme. It's not that we don't know that they're good men. Some of us maybe don't, but we know the essence of what makes a good man. We just think we have time to get them. Let me play this.
As a priority over their own happiness and their own success. Yeah. T, were you about to say something? Because I see you.
No, I was just agreeing with you that I'm one.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
Logic, before you go, let me say this. The issue
I think I cut her off by accident. I confused her because I said I'm one. My bad.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just gonna finish up by saying that a lot of times, the traditional lifestyle is pushed on women, and we're living in a modern society where that's no longer an option for us. It's no longer a goal to just get pregnant and get married. Now women are starting to think and being self-full rather than selfish. They're being self-full and they're fulfilling their thing. It's a lot of women who are choosing to be single today by choice.
A lot of women are choosing to be single. I think it's all cap. You don't want to be single. You want a companion. You want to be with a man. You just don't want to be serious with them. You don't want the responsibilities of trying to make yourself into a wife or be a wife. Because these women think that they have time too. We think that we have time. You know, it's interesting because when I was on that panel and it was a lot going on, I'll put the link in the description because that was something for the books. But it was interesting because on that panel, we were talking to younger women in their 20s. One didn't have kids. She had a whole lot of other stuff going on, and the other one did. And it was me, Mr. Logic, and Amber, all parents, all over 35, and all not married. And we tried our best to tell them about our experience and the things not to do. It didn't click. The young lady that I talked to that rejected the guy, it didn't click. And it's forcing me to kind of think as well how to make it click. How can we have our Black women, our young girls, think about being accountable for their actions and how being accountable now will affect their future? Who can make it click for them? You guys will ask, who can hold Black women accountable? I don't know. Well, maybe I do. Because I don't think it's an accountability thing. It's an immaturity thing. We're immature, childlike. Let's see what else she had to say.
My children. We talking about family. Let's talk about energy. Because energy passes on to the people that you're around. That's why when you're around your mama, your daddy, your friends who got bad energy, that bad energy reflects on them. So at the end of the day, when my children grow up, turn 18, 21, and go to live their life, I'm here with an empty house. Say what? Because I ain't do shit. No, I live my life for me. And I live my life for me because once I'm happy, then my children are happy. I'm not negating my children's happiness, but I'm also living to be happy so that my children can be happy as well. Period.
Okay, so this is what
on how the way my children are now perceived.
How silly is that? Childlike mentality. The lady had children. I think she had 2. And she's not living for her kids. She's living for herself. Because she's under the impression that if she lives happy, quote unquote, then her kids are going to be happy. That it's about her. And what she wants to do with her life, not her children. How dare you try to prioritize your kids? You want to prioritize yourself and what you want. That selfish I should have named this, damn it, Black women are acting like children at this point in time. That's what I should have named this shit, because nothing is prioritized than yourself. What you want to do, I want to do all this, but your family and even your current kids take the back seat. I don't understand where Black women think that we're just so amazingly great that everyone comes after us, that we don't have to put anyone before us, not even our kids. And then you want to know why this young woman is pineappling a man. And we want to know why our kids are in the state of destruction that they are in. Not only is that we're not allowing dads to be dads, but we have mothers that clearly don't give a damn about their children because they want their first needs and everything what they want first. And we're wondering why we're like this as a community. They're saying it out of their mouths. It's selfishness. Kids are selfish. We're in a community where the Black women are acting like kids. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong, please. We're children. Shout out, we need to talk. Thank you, darling. I'm going to put you in my link because I'm talking about our conversation, but it goes deeper than that. We're kids. And the only thing that some of us are being able to become women is when we have a child. And then we realize, damn, this is hard. Damn, I should have did it in reverse. I should have had the husband. And then sometimes a lot for us is too damn late once we get it. It's not the accountability that women are lacking. Women are lacking maturity. And these girls that are growing up, got all the weaves in the world, all the makeup in the world, all the acrylics in the world, and don't have a mature woman mentality to go out in this world and understand what they need to be focused on because their priorities are fucked up. There was more to that conversation. Y'all done got me heated on a Saturday. Lord, sorry, Jesus. I'm going to go to church tomorrow.
Because that's how we learn. We look from the people who took the steps that we was taking now, and we look and ask them, hey, if you can go back and do it today, would you do the same thing? And I promise you, most of them, I got a gang of aunties, 12 of them, that would tell you that they wish they could be in your position again so they can not make the same decision that you're making again. That's it. We cool. It ain't no shame.
Logic.
And what's the decision?
She dropped off.
Logic.
What's the decision? Oh,
She's gonna come back.
I mean, the thing is, yeah, sometimes people regret things when they get older or whatever. But a wise man once said, in order to survive, you gotta learn to live with regrets. It might happen. You're not going, and that wise man was.
That is the most toxic, feminist, dumbest shit that I've ever heard. I'm sorry, Kay, I rock with you, but that's dumb. So you're willing to tell me that you want women to live with their regrets and they're going to make them so be able to live with it? Whoever said that was not wise. They were a fool. Because a wise man is going to know that you don't have to make mistakes, that you can learn from others. Why in the hell would I want to live life to make mistakes, bump my head all the time, to live with my regrets? Who does that? Who wants to do that? No. What you do is learn from others. You look at people. You look at, if I'm in a job and I want to elevate, what am I going to do? Just willy-nilly, just pretend like I know what I'm doing? Or I'm going to look at the standard and I'm going to mimic what they doing? Or I'm going to look at someone that is not at the position that I want to be and see, darn, that's how you messed up. Let me make sure I don't do that. That's being mature. That's being an adult. That's being a grown-ass woman to know that you don't have to learn from your mistakes. You can learn from others. I get on these platforms and I talk a lot because I run my mouth. Thank you, TJ. I run my mouth a lot. And I always get the pushback. Why are you talking about families? Because you not married. Why should any woman listen to you? Because you not married. I know I'm not. And this is the reason why, because the nigga thought I had time. I thought that like these younger women did. I am the example of what not to do. Who wants to be 35, 40 years old uncovered by a husband? Well, apparently some of us do, because we're still in an immature state of mind and thinking that 40 and 50-year-olds can still act like we're 20. And I'm going to get into that too. Let me finish this clip up. Lord, my blood pressure. This is another thing when you get older, the blood pressure. Jesus, have mercy.
His experience, all of us in the same circle. Only advantage she have is she's younger. She can fix the mistakes.
Okay, so what I'm saying is that so why
have the results? That's what she's saying. So as far like my grandmother, who had multiple children and still has a 35-year marriage, has the results. So if I would want, like, I can hear what you're saying, and you're saying you might be me, you might be lonely, you might not be able to have kids. This is a might. But
you literally just said you didn't want to be like your grandmother. You literally,
but
at the beginning of the show, you said, I don't want to be like my mother, my grandmother, unhappy with a man I don't want to be with.
I said, I don't want to be my grandmother. And
I want to see the results. I want to see the results. People that's made mistakes is also a result. I don't understand why people think that a result is always good. There's consequences to your actions, and the consequence is the result of it. The result of having in your 20s and thinking that you have time and thinking that I'll put family first once I get out of my me phase and me. The result is being unwed, old. The result is having children that you have to raise solo by yourself. That's the result. So whether I'm married or not, look at what I've done. And then you look at the results, and then you figure out if that's what you want to be. Oh, so Courtney, you said that you was out here being a perpetual 7. If y'all watch Kevin Samuels, you know what that is. You being a perpetual 7, and your result is that you are now in your 30s and unmarried. Oh, well, that result, maybe I don't want. Thank you, Courtney, for telling us the story. I'm going to do the opposite. What I'm going to do is, now that I'm 23 and don't have any baggage, don't have any kids, maybe I'll take family first. Y'all got to get out this mind frame is if you married, the result is the consequence that you have. Whether good or bad, it's the result. So what you have to do, shout out to Mr. Logic, is look at it. Look at the person that you want to be. Look at the life that you want to live. And correct me if I'm wrong, Chad. Shout out TJ. Please show me a 60-year-old woman that's not married, that's living a fabulous life. I'll wait. Anybody chat? Thank you, Eugene. A 60, 70-year-old woman. Please show me who's anybody. Oprah? Yeah, if you think Oprah is living just great because she has money, she got Stedman and Gail, but that's a whole nother topic. Anybody else besides Oprah? Right. But I tell you what, with this childlike mentality and without maturing, because maturing does not come with age, unfortunately, with us. Alan, who I just adore, we need to talk, sent me this thing like a while ago, and I was flabbergasted. He was like, do you know these women out here 60 plus just out here twerking? And I said, not the grandmamas. What is the grandmamas doing out here twerking? And he was like, yeah, send me a video. And I was like, no. And then I started realizing that it is a thing that these older women at 60 years old are acting like they're 20. Y'all know I come with receipts. Don't take my word for it. I don't know if it's gonna play.
Ain't never. Tell her how you is. All right, then. Don't play like that.
I gotta do that again.
Ain't never. Tell her how you is. All right, then. Don't play like that.
Tell me what's the difference between that 60-year-old woman and the 23-year-old woman. What's the difference? How she's dressed, her vernacular, her sexualizing herself at 60. When my grandmama was 60, she was baking cakes and pies. My granddaddy, was he still living? Might have been, but she was taking care of the grandchildren, being a grandmother in her rightful role, instead of out here shaking your ass at 60 and thinking it's cute. But this is where we are. Childlike mentality. We're not mature. We're children. And and then I think about how are we missing it? Like, what is it that now our 60-year-old women are out here competing like they're 20? And is they're single? They're single. These women are single, still trying to get a man at 60. Acting like they 23 and still have all the time in the world at 60. Jesus be offense. Hey, Chef. Appreciate you guys. Thank you guys for so much. I've had so much to say about this, and I'm going to get back to the interview too, of what I did on We Need to Talk. But it was like so much stuff was coming and hitting me, and it just had the exact same theme. And the theme is time. And it's on my spirit to talk about time and the lack thereof. We don't have it. And so the 60-year-old woman is what.
Tell her how old you is. All right, then. Don't play like that.
I wish I would have shown her that clip in that interview. This is 60. This is what happens when you don't prioritize in your prime, when you're able to snatch them up real quick. This is what happens when you wait. Is that you still out here looking a fool, thinking that you're something that you're not, madam. If you don't sit your old ass, ratchet ass down, put on some clothes that fit, put on some clothes that pertains to your age, bake a pie, watch some Dr. Phil and chill. I don't even know if I want to get into it, but to hell, we're all here. So let's do it. I'm going to pull something up real quick. Another stat. Y'all going to be like, what the hell this got to do with anything? Well, something. The war on drugs and its effects on Black marriage in the 1980s and the 90s. If you guys can see the diagram, and if you look at the increase of never married Black men is going to be in the tan, and then the war on drugs. Now, we can debate why our fathers were gone in the 80s. We can say, or even starting, actually the trend started within, if you can see, in the 60s. So we can say it was during wartime. We can blame it on feminism. We can blame it on the crack epidemic. I think it all rounds up into one. But what's consistent is that since the 80s, our not being married has skyrocketed to where we are right now at 30%. I think that 80s, it's pivotal because I'm an 80s baby. And this is, again, around the same time where fathers were out the house and we weren't getting married and having kids out of wedlock. That's like, I'll go over that in a minute. I think that's pivotal in understanding why we have this mentality as far as a childlike. Women my age and younger that don't have fathers in the home cannot steer them, cannot give them self-esteem, self-worth, self-identity. It takes a dad to give you that. It takes a dad to teach a girl what to look for in a man and when she should be able to get that man. It takes a man to cover his child, especially his young girls. It takes a man to understand that the reason why when we get married and I give my daughter to you is that she's uncovered. There should be no period of time that a woman should not be led by a man. Sit on that for a minute. There should be no time in the world that a woman should be uncovered by a man. So when that girl leaves the house and from her dad's protection, she goes automatically under the protection of her husband. That uncovering that we are in, that 10 years that we're uncovered, is the 10 years that's messing up our lives. It's those 10 years that we're having kids out of wedlock. Is that 10 years that we're picking up this luggage because we're uncovered. And until we start preaching that and teaching that, until we start saying fathers are needed in the home to protect their young girls, to teach her what the husband should be. So when you come from out of my house, you're still protected. I can still protect you from being unblemished. I'm protecting you to still be in your creation role. Your purpose is not to have a career that's fun, shiny stuff, but your purpose is what you were made for. I didn't have boobs and breasts and childbearing hips to go work at the CVS. I don't have a menstrual cycle and fallopian tubes to go work at the Walgreens. God created my body to be a mother, and that's the purpose of me. God created my dad to lead me and a husband to lead me, to be covered. I'm supposed to be married. That's the purpose. And until we get back in our purpose, until we make our purpose a priority, we lost. Let me see if I want to pull this up. I don't even know if I want to get all into this. So, families, dads was gone in the 80s. Not only do dads teach us our self-worth and our self-identity, that fathers, husbands are a girl's first protection. Daddies protect their little girls. So if that's the idea of a covering, when you cover something, Lord, use me, Jesus. Okay. When you're covered, you're protected. We put our cars in garages to cover them from the weather, to protect them so no one hurts them. Come on, shout out, Rilla. You put your car in a garage to protect it from thieves, people breaking in, from the weather. It's covered. When we go outside in the rain, we use an umbrella to cover us, to protect us. What else did we use to protect? When you have sex, what do you use to cover it? So you're not out here having, it's a covering. A covering is protection. And our first protection that we have is our fathers. And then that next covering is our husbands. And if we're uncovered, that means we're not protected. And in the 80s, we were uncovered. Again, I'm not here to debate the reason why or who to blame. The result is uncovered children and is uncovered women. So if I don't have a dad and I'm not understanding what a man looks like or how to put my picker on, or the importance of picking them in my prime, if I don't have that and I'm uncovered, then what other aspects can happen? Because sometimes it's not more than, or maybe it is more than not having a husband or not understanding what a good man is. Maybe it's more to that. And I think it is. For anyone that understands this theory, is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Abraham Maslow was first introduced to the concept of hierarchy of needs in his 1943 paper titled A Theory of Human Motivation. And again, in his subsequent books, Motivation and Personality, this hierarchy suggests that people are motivated to fulfill basic needs before moving on to other more advanced needs. If you've never heard of Maslow, this is the hierarchy of needs. What this is that this dictates our behavior. Our basic needs, as you can see at the bottom, is pretty much food, water, warmth, rest. So the idea of this theory, of the pyramid theory, is in order for us to move up, for change behavior, for maturity, is that we have to have these basic needs met first. And once those basic needs are met, we're able to elevate to the next, and then get those needs met, and then we're able to elevate to the next. And once we elevate, the top tier is self-actualization. It's understanding who you are. It's maturity. Maslow stated that we can't grow, we can't mature unless we get our needs met. So food, water, warmth, rest, those are basic needs that I think we as a community now have. And if you can't financially get it, well, the government will come in and give it to you. But then the second need is what comes in. Security needs. In order for us to elevate up, our security, our safety needs have to be met. Who in the house gives you security and safety fulfillment? Your dad. I'm here to tell you that without fathers in the home, a lot of women have not been able to get that security need met. And because of that, we can't elevate to the next step. Because of that, we are still stuck and immature in a phase where we're not able to mature because we haven't met that particular basic need to grow. The lack of fathers that teach us how to be covered and how to be protected was gone in the 80s. And we're teaching our children still how to act as if we're still back in the 80s. Our growth hasn't shown much. We've gotten older and we know how to act old, but we don't know how to be mature. The next step, when we feel secure and our needs and our safety needs are met, that's where the belonging and the love needs. This is the next step on able to secure and understand intimate relationships, have amazing friendships. This is where, after we've met those security needs, then we're able to maintain and get into real intimate relationships and marriage. And for anyone that's wanting to know, this is Maslow theory of hierarchy of needs. And that hierarchy of needs is this. We're stuck in an immature phase because we feel as if we're not secure. And we feel as if our security is going to come with our careers. Our security, we feel as if it's going to come with us as women chasing the bag. And that's not what God ordained. Women, you don't get the security and the safety from a job. Let's face it, jobs ain't secure. Hell, our average earnings is under 40K. I don't know what security is that. Sounds like we still gonna be working at 60 or 70 years old. The security comes from being covered. And if we're not covered, that basic need is not met, and we're not able to have intimate, real relationships. That's our problem. Our problem is that we're immature and we don't understand what security and safety really means, and it's a covering. I'm trying. Twerking grandmamas. Let me go back to the interview that I did on We Need to Talk. And let's see what else this young lady had to say. Let's play it.
A standard, that is not the only thing that makes a relationship work. If that was the case, then these billionaires would stay married, and they don't. There has to be a common ground for both people. Period. It does. I hear you. And that does not, and just because somebody feels like or somebody feels like that they need that and that's what they want, that doesn't mean that they don't appreciate an intelligent man. Hell, I'm still going to be with a successful, intelligent Black man. But that doesn't mean, just because I decided to pass on him, that doesn't mean that that's not what I want out of life. Maybe I just felt like I needed a little bit more. And from that conversation, I just felt like I didn't get it. And that's fair enough. That's fair enough. I can't change your mind. I can just try to throw you some little old lady game. And that's all I'm able to do. But like I said, even with that man, he just showed a lot of stuff within 2 minutes, and even coming back and even knowing where he even lives. I think there was a lot to dig in with that man. And, at the end of the day, I think men are telling us that, damn, I have all this to offer you and I want to give it to you, but you're willing to surpass all the accomplishments and the accolades that I know that can make your life amazing. And I'm willing to
we're willing to pass on that because he didn't give us butterflies or personality within a couple minutes, which I can tell you that
I would say surpass in addition to. Let's say that.
Well, we don't always get everything that we wanted. We definitely don't get it all. So you just have to prioritize what's most important. And I'm here to tell you, being a provider, a protector, intelligent, moral, God-fearing, that's the most important. And all that extra, you as his helpmate can bring that out of him. And I think he would appreciate that for you. I see you rolling your eyes.
No, I'm just thinking because I'm like, I'm just thinking. That's all.
Oh, okay. Just thinking. I'm going to put the link if anybody wants to chime in as well. It was, again, I'm going to put the link. It was a great conversation. Alan was able to talk to her. I did. There was a couple of the people that came up to have a discussion. I don't know if anything was a light bulb. I say, of course, the aha moment. I don't know if that was done. But it really opened my eyes to see where we really are as far as the state of Black women. And I think we focus a lot on holding Black women accountable. But anyone with kids know that if they're immature, they don't understand what accountability is. That has to be taught. That has to be taught. It's not an accountability issue that we're having. It's a maturity level that we're having, a maturity issue that we're having. And I pulled up again, and I'm going to bring it back to a theory that our security needs back in the day wasn't met. And instead of understanding that it currently and has been, then we can't get through it and we can't fix the issue. Oh, hey, George Bacon. What? It's been forever. Hey, George.
How you doing, Courtney?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm fine. I like these type of conversations, especially when it's had by women, because women are more inclined to listen to other women than as opposed to us. We can say something that they know is right, but because we're men, and you could be married to a woman for years, raise a family, they don't want to hear it. But it's the new era, and the same applies to some of these young guys too. I just look at it. I just think that we just in an era now where everything is about the right now. Nobody's thinking about legacy or what happens down the line. My only problem that I have is something I told my daughter, my oldest daughter. Like y'all, you guys, y'all generation have this mentality, but y'all still come together and have sex and make babies. But you still, like I heard the one girl say when you was playing it about 20 minutes ago, where she said her happiness is about her and then her children. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. Before you have children, that means you have to have sex with a man. So you don't have a bond with the man that you are allowing to put babies in you. This is the mentality. And like being married 18 years, raising two daughters from birth to adults. It's like, it's just the mentality that our generation have now. We don't have we normalize just having children, but we don't prioritize having bonds with the women or the men that we decide to have children with. Right. They boldly say it out of their mouth, like, man, my concern is me and my children. And I'm like, wait a minute. Like, you actually need a man to have that child. What are you talking about? And my mentality is, for me, it's me and my wife first, and then the children. Because if we ain't right, the children suffer.
Facts.
And before we even had children, it was me and my wife.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I was raised like that by my father. My children are secondary behind me and my wife. If we're not right, and I think that we have to put that back out into society, because we've normalized in the Black communities that it's just, we can have I can have a baby before I have the heart or the mind of my woman or man. Like, we don't get along, but we still having children.
Right.
And I think that, and that's what's going on. And it's just, I don't know, man. It's just a whole new mentality. Like, and I'm not perfect. I had children out of wedlock, when I was younger. But thank God I was raised by my father, and I had other women in my family that I understood legacy, and I knew that I was supposed to take care of my children, no matter what. And after a while, and once I figured it out, still in my 20s, I got married.
Mm-hmm.
And and here in my 40s, I'm still married. And I everything that me and my wife has done over the last 18 years, it's been about building ourselves up and our children, legacy, sacrifice, and commitment. You don't have children and do everything. You don't have children with a man or a woman, and you still thinking individually. Like, what are we doing?
When I tell you, I was just, my mind was blown. So it's a maturity thing. Just because you are a mother or don't make you mature. It doesn't make you a woman, apparently. You're a female because you have the biology to create, but it is the mentality that it's a selfish mentality. We're out for self, and that being selfish, you can't compromise. And how you gonna get a man or a good man if it's all about you? And that's what the girl with the pineapple, he wasn't entertaining enough for him, as if she needed a court gesture.
But that's the society. That's the society now. That's what's been promoted to a lot of the young girls of the generation. Like, you need to be entertained. And you gotta understand something in the Black community too. Unfortunately, it's a man's masculinity in the Black community is because the boys are trained this way too. Because I know it, because I come from it. We trained to think with the head below the belly button and not the one above the neck. So our masculinity is judged on your sexual prowess and how cool you can look, not your production. So you see a lot of our girls, and a lot of our girls are trained to look at men that way. And I've noticed this. A lot of women today, there could be 100 men standing over in the corner, but they'll only see the men that they're attracted to. They don't see the other men.
Right.
It's not that they overlook them; they don't see them. The only men that exist in the world are the ones that they are conditioned to be attracted to. So in our community, we don't look at a man based off of his production. So he could be a man that owns 88 houses in the hood. He could be doing well, but if he's a little quirky or awkward a little bit, she may overlook him because she don't recognize him.
Mm-hmm.
She recognized Big D Darryl from up the block that all the girls know until she matures. But that's part of this cultural thing that goes on in our community that we have to fight to break up. Because sometimes I think, Courtney, I don't think it's always the young girl's fault. It's a product of the environment that they're raised in.
Right. Well, yeah. Well, I mean, I guess it's the idea of the nurture and nature. So, of course, if you're in an environment where survival is the utmost importance, so I can get that too. But I guess for me, this is survival.
Yeah, and I'll say this one last thing. I'll mute up because I know somebody else came in.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say this to a lot of the young girls that may watch this video or may be in the chat room. You guys got to. I want you guys to stop saying that. Well, I got to do what I got to do because there's no men out here. That's a lie. Listen to me. The same thing I had to tell my oldest daughter. There are thousands. I live in Philadelphia, one of the blackest cities in America. Huge, damn near 2 million people walking around. Majority black. There are hundreds of thousands of good black men, but you only see the men that you are attracted to. You overlook these other guys. They are there. They're behind you, in front of you. They're waving like this from across the street. They're screaming at you, but you don't see them. You have to open your eyes because they're there. I know a lot of y'all might not have been raised in a house with your fathers and stuff like that, and I get it. But listen, I tell my daughters all the time, listen, your dad grew up in the streets. My daughters then dated over the years. I've seen them date plenty of guys. And Courtney, I will always say, why you don't like him? Because he's corny. They started dating guys that was like their father. And that woke me up. Because I said, damn, like I tried my best to keep some of my street activities away from my daughters. But kids, they know what they see. And they started to date guys that was like their father. And I'm like, I'm trying to pick this guy out. Yeah, he kind of corny. And that's when I really realized that, like, oh my God, man, like, and they're there. So what I'm saying is, like, don't wait till it's too late. You know, listen to some of the big homies that come. I don't want no sex from you. I don't want nothing from you. I'm just giving you game. Those guys are there, and you guys see them. Give those guys a chance. Just give them a chance. Yeah. I mean, you know, that's all I say.
I appreciate you, George. It's always good. It's been a minute.
Yeah, I'm always watching though.
All right, I appreciate you.
Yeah, I'm gonna mute up.
Okay, I'll put you back. What is going on, Anton? Allen, are you there?
I'm here. How are you?
Good. Stay your ass right there for a minute. What's going on, Anton? Mr. AntonDaniel.com.
What's up, baby girl? How you feel?
How are you doing?
I feel phenomenal.
Yeah.
I feel absolutely incredible.
Well, you know, I'm going over the clip that I did, a conversation with Alan. He's at the top, with the young lady with the pineapples. And then with you going over that Young Miami. And at the end of that clip, it hit me and I was like, this is something going on. And it just seems like the parallel things that women are saying is absolutely the exact same thing of waiting. And it's like time that we have to secure our future, and we don't. So I don't know. What are your thoughts? And Alan, you staying up here because this was your interview.
I think that,
ain't going nowhere.
Okay.
I think it's a dangerous game because for women, if we just being honest, and I know this is the unpopular take, you damned if you do and you damned if you don't. Because if you align yourself, the problem with a lot of these conversations as far as women is that it's time. Because every guy that you align yourself with is not necessarily going to be, they're not always going to get it. They're not always going to be successful. They're not always going to be solidly middle class. They're not always going to do it. You know what I'm saying? You can attach yourself to somebody, but how many times have we seen, you know, women attach themselves to the dude and then he wind up going to jail? And they say, hold him down in prison. You know what I'm saying? And it, you know, obviously that's just one little small example, but the point that I'm making is that it's not always sweet, and it's not always sweet on the other side. And yeah, we can say, okay, women are supposed to move like this, but women are supposed to move like that. But all you seeing that's happening in society today is things evolving based off of women reacting. They haven't even had power for that long. And if you're telling me that women can take over an entire system based off of less than 100 years worth of work, when we've literally ran society for the entirety of our lives, that's a hard argument to make.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's an unpopular argument, but it's a hard argument to make. And you're telling yourself to put their fate. You're telling women, let's revise it. You're telling your daughter to put their fate in the hands of an unproven man, right? In yesteryear, men had to prove themselves worthy before they got a wife. We don't add that part into the conversation. It was a rite of passage. Today, we just saying, trust me. No, fuck you. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, I'm not trusting you. Prove it. This is the only scenario in any form of society where we're telling people, trust me. And then that's just the end of the conversation. And if she trusts him and he fucks up, they're gonna say, well, you chose wrong.
Right.
You chose wrong. Own it. You damned if you do and you damned if you don't. Real talk. If you just want to be real.
Good point. That's a good point, because I don't think about that, because we do say you got to trust the man. You got to trust the man. But I'm trusting you with my life. And you're also trusting me to create you a legacy. So what is proven? And those attributes, again, we don't know the young man, but again, what is that track record? What does it look like? And that goes again with vetting and understanding. But you're absolutely right. We're putting trust in something that it's life-changing, and not only life-changing for me, but it changes our community. Like, and this is what makes the Black community. Call it whatever you want, but where we're going, it's shit. It is shit.
And I don't know any other place where they say they require you to trust them.
Yeah.
If you go on a job, more often than not, the vetting process is one of the beautiful things about college is that it shows you that somebody is able to endure long enough to be successful, or they're dedicated to what it is that they're doing by studying, you know what I'm saying, going through the whole process. You may even go through an internship, so on and so forth, in order to, you know what I'm saying, show that you can even have the opportunity to even prove yourself once you get into that position. And even then, they can say, you're not up to stuff. You know what? I'm going to put you on a performance improvement plan, so on and so forth, or get your ass up out of here. This is a lifetime decision, which historically, we've always required people to prove themselves before they were able to marry somebody. But now they just saying, listen, trust me.
Yeah.
Well, I'm trust my vision to be a rapper. Fuck you. You know what I'm saying? Like, no.
Let me ask you a question too, because I know the last show that we did, and we talked about women being childlike and like children.
Yeah, they are.
And I know that within itself was like, what? I will grow. But then I agree with you. And I told you my research. So on low key, you had that. And I was literally thinking the same thing and kind of creating this show.
Yep.
And for me, I'm like, and it's not to call it whatever you want. It is what it is. It's we lack maturity. We're immature, and that's a childlike mentality. We have not grown, and it's not even an age. You would think somebody 30, 35 would be an adult as far as acting, but we're not. And again, that childlike, like you said, was a covering, and we have to stay covered. And there's a reason why. It's because God didn't ordain for us to be in this world by ourselves, because we can't.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. Honestly, and again, I think y'all got it bad on both ends of the stick. Either way, you're gonna catch the L. You're gonna catch the L from people that say, listen, if you go and you say, okay, listen, I want to listen to what y'all gotta say. What do you what's going on? They're gonna say you a pick me, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
If you say, all right, cool, I want to do my own thing or whatever, they're going to say you're a modern woman, get the fuck out of here. Pick your poison.
Yeah. Well, at this point, to hell with a title, they're going to label you anything, but truth is the truth. And you can't, I can't fight a truth, and this is where we are, and there's reasons why. And yeah. So this is Alan, who I adore, and so he has a platform, We Need to Talk, and I was, like I said, was able to talk to her on there, and he was able to talk on there, and I don't know if he's up, but I'm gonna bring some other people up. You do whatever the hell you want to do, Anton. You want to stay, drop, whatever.
Yeah, you're right, but I'm just chilling. You know me, I just love what you do, and I'm a heavy supporter of you. And the interesting thing about it though is that, for everybody that don't even really know, I'm an equal accountability partner, right? If I see something I don't like, I'm gonna pull that card and I'm gonna talk about it from a women's perspective, from a men's perspective. I push men to be the best version of themselves. And so when I speak specifically on behalf of women saying that, yo, you are damned if you do, you damned if you don't, that's just me being objective. I'm just giving it to you exactly what the real is. The things that I worry about when I'm raising my 13-year-old daughter, you know what I'm saying? I pay attention to that. This ain't no internet talking point. This is me stepping outside of whatever internet talking point could be relevant at the moment and just being real. Listen, you damned if you do, you damned if you don't. It just is what it is.
Yeah, to pick your poison. What's going on, Cheeky? What's going on, TJ?
Ain't nothing to it the way you do it.
Hey, grow them real. What do you guys got to say on the topic? And Alan, whenever you want to get off mute.
Yeah, I'm driving right now, so sometimes the signal goes in and out. But y'all go ahead whenever you need me. Just say my name.
Okay, no problem. What you got for me, TJ and Cheeky? whatever. Those y'all's my peoples.
TJ, you can go ahead and go first.
Okay, I'm not going to be long. I just want to say to Courtney, thank you for this conversation. I think it's very appropriate. I think it's very timely. I think, regrettably, to what Anton said, speaking from a woman's perspective, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. What do I mean by that? I mean that you have on the one hand that women are saying, well, the older women should tell us these things. The older women should, grow us and let us know. So that's on the one hand. And then on the other hand, you'll have a woman to say, well, you old, things are different now. Go sit down somewhere, old lady. So, and it's funny because sadly to say, I mean, I may have thought it once upon a time, but I didn't say it. But I think so how do you win? How do you help? Because again, I'm listening to the young 23-year-old. Again, I remember being that naive because you think you know everything. And again, you don't know that you don't know anything. And that's the realness. But you can't tell him anything. And I think it's unfortunate because as you and I talked before, being that my mom had me young, when she would tell me that you had time, she would tell me that because she was only 17 years older than me herself. So she thought that she had time. So she thought that she had time. So that's what she poured into me. And again, when you are 23, 24, 25, there's nobody finer than you until you're not.
Okay.
And it's more to it than that. I mean, did I envision myself being 49, 51, single and, having raised a child? No, but that's what happened to me. Because I had time, I was focusing on raising my daughter, focusing on going up the military and the federal ladder, and then look up my daughter by myself. So I think it's very important that you do this, that you have this conversation. I think it's very important that the young women who really want to get it, that you take heed to what Courtney is saying. You take heed to women like me who have made the same mistakes, who was basically given wrong information. Whether it was intentional or not, it was still wrong information.
Yeah.
And do better. So that's all I got. I'm out. Continue your work.
Appreciate you. Thank you, TJ.
Bye-bye.
Bye. What up, Cheeky?
What's up?
What you got?
I don't know. I think it's the younger generation. Unfortunately, how do I put this? We're in a time where it's like we hear what you're saying, right? But there's only a select few that's going to really take in consideration as to his involvement. Like me and Anton had this conversation last night where I was like, why is it? Because I found this on both sides. It's like both sides are trying to find points that only validate what they feel and not try to take an objective approach to solve for a problem, right? Because on one end, you have this young lady who, if she just didn't like him, she just didn't like him. Like that's it. There's all there is to it. But the larger part of that is what you're thinking as a community. And unfortunately, young people today, we don't. If I work with younger people, I go to the studio, so I make music with younger people, and I ask them about the general idea of Black love, and all. They don't care about it. They care about themselves in the sense of, I need to do what's best for me. And what's funny is when she was on the show, because she was also on the show with Melanie Monaco, she did a response. And in that response, in the video I made, I clipped it. She said, "It's not my responsibility to do this." And that's exactly how most young people feel today about just themselves. I don't have a bigger responsibility to a community, because where is it?
Where is the community?
Right.
Do you guys think our community is gone?
Me personally, I battle with that because a part of me is like, I don't know what it means to be Black. Like, I have an idea and a concept, but there's no objective thing that anyone has told me that goes, this is what makes you Black. And when I say Black, I mean African American within the context of America, not like Nigerian. I'm talking about Black, like Black. That aspect is something that I've been looking for some time. And also I've been trying to understand, why is it important, right? Because you'll have panels where somebody will say something about Black people and it'll rile me up. I'm not gonna lie. It's just like, you know what? I may not be Black fist in the air, but you ain't finna, right? And I've experienced that, and there's a connection to Black people, but the question starts becoming, to what cost, right?
Yeah.
Should I be passing up good opportunities with another woman of another race simply because she's not Black, when I know that there's just not good, quote unquote, like-minded people, right? And if you're spiritually, minded, there's not many people that's equally yoked. Why should I pass up somebody who doesn't look like me for a community that doesn't understand or even respect me as an individual? You know what I'm saying? So it's a lot of questions and not a lot of answers, and too many people are looking to be victims and not look for solutions.
Understand. Stay here, Tiki, for a second, because just stay there. What's up, Will? What's going on with you?
Hey, how y'all doing? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. First and foremost, I want to give you and Anton and JR and people like you your flowers, because I think the conversations that y'all are having are very important. And you don't really hear stuff like this on mainstream TV, and like 95% of the stuff I listen to now is on YouTube because of conversations like this. So I just want to thank y'all for that, first and foremost.
Thank you.
Let me respond to something that Kay said on that clip. She said that you got to learn to live with regrets. And she was quoting, I believe, Jay-Z when she said that. That, you listen to that song, he's talking about regrets from being in the streets, of being in the drug game. So I found it ironic that she would use that song and that analogy to compare that to what women should be doing with their lives in their early age. I mean, why would you want to intentionally go into or live a toxic way and just say, well, you got to learn to live with regrets? That's crazy to me.
Absolutely wrong.
Yeah, it just didn't make any sense. But anyway, when it comes about the topic of relationships and marriage, and I've been married 6.5 years, I feel for people nowadays that are not, that want to be, because I'm a more cynical person, and I just look at society at large, and I don't, when it comes to Black America and things we go to, it starts with us, and we're kind of like the canary in the coal mine, and it gets worse and worse, i.e. the drug epidemic. It was crack with us, and heroin in the 70s and crack in the 80s, and now it's opioids with the large society. And I see the same thing when it comes to relationships and marriage. I don't see anybody of any other community that really prioritizes marriage like that. And I just look at where our society is going, is like 30 years, what is it going to look like? That's just me. I'm not hopeful at all. Because everybody wants to do that. I mean, it's sad, but it's real.
Well, let me ask you a question, and this is why I guess maybe I'm hopeful, but I'm going to always be optimistic.
Yeah, we need people like you. I mean, I don't be like me. I'm
not going because even though like we're seeing the rhetoric that a lot of our 20-year-old women are having, 30-year-old and 40-year-old, hell, you saw that 60-year-old twerking. But these conversations haven't been had. When have you heard women using a platform, I mean, not TV, but YouTube, which is just, it's bigger. When have you heard women saying, Black women saying what we're saying? Prioritize family, that you're in your prime to do it for so many reasons. Being fertile, being more attractive, not having baggage, not having kids. This is the opportune time to get it. When are you hearing it? Because for me, I've never heard it.
That's a good point. But I go back to the interview you did with the young lady that turned down the guy on the speed dating thing.
Mm-hmm.
She wasn't trying to hear what you had to say.
Maybe.
I don't think that's true. I don't think that's necessarily true, man. And the reason I say that is because I've been in that position, right? I think there needs to be grace given, and I'm not speaking, from older people to younger, but more so amongst each other, right? I think the younger generation, we really don't have any real tolerance or grace for one another. Like somebody 25, as a male, and I see another 25-year-old woman, my inclination is not to be like, let me be understanding of her, let me be gracious. It's more so to think, well, here are my problems with women, all right, and then this is why I don't like what they do. But if you heard what she was saying, she just sounded like a young girl trying to figure it out. And she may have heard, or she may have heard what you said, but it may not register until later, because I've had the same thing happen to me and my father. Like, hey, do this. And I'm like, man, I don't get why I'm doing this. But a year or a year and a half later, something clicks. I'm hoping, right? Because here's what I don't want to do. I don't want to put doubt or negativity in her life by going, she's just going to be another single mama. That's crazy. Like, I wouldn't put that on her. I'm hoping what she sees and from what you were saying, from what, Trill, because she was on Trill's podcast, and what they were saying, I'm hoping that, the words that has been spoken really hit her and register. I'm hoping. I have some hope. I'm not as pessimistic as Doug will, but I'm there. I'm right there. I got a whole hour video as to why men aren't getting married and why we're not fearful about it. We're just cautious.
But
I don't think it matters. I don't think it matters. None of it matters. I think that everything is cyclical. Think about it like this, right? It's like there were a lot of guys. We can argue family court or whatever, but there was still a lot of guys even outside of family court that never made any attempt after they left the home to even take care of their kids. We've seen countless times and times again that there is guys that got kids, 1,000 kids all over, and you got a brother or sister and ain't none of them got the same mama. It's a lot of those situations that played out. What wind up happening is, and as I talk to a lot of guys today, they were in those situations. They were those kids, right? But now they're fiercely in their kids' life. Everything is cyclical. Everything is cyclical. I think that human nature is to course correct, and then go through it again and course correct, and then go through it again and then course correct. I think that what you're seeing right now is one of the first times, how they say that this is the first generation of women that's really, really dying alone. I think that there will be a natural course correction based off of learned experiences, and that often at times we overthinking it. I don't think it matters, because if you really want to solve for a problem, then on an individual basis, you do things differently. I don't think that you have to worry about. There's very few people that have impact, the level of impact, the type of voice to have these type of conversations that carry across that carry across generations or can reach multiple people. That is necessary to have the conversation, because we need to have the learned experiences and we need to have the civil conversations or the discourse. However, what you'll see is a natural transition into a completely different way of thinking and doing things based off of real life learned experiences. And this is the first time that you really, really get to see it play out in real time, especially with all of the technology and, having the conversations and the internet and all of that other type of stuff. I think that people will be fine. I think that people overthink it. But then at the same time, if you want to do things differently, you just have to get it right. You just have to make sure that you take care of your kids. You only got to make sure that you take care of your household, that's the way that you contribute to making society better, is by getting the beam out of your own eye before you start holding somebody else accountable. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I'm not worried about it. I'm not concerned about it. I think that everything works out exactly the way that it's going to work out.
Yeah. Come on, optimism.
Anton, let me ask you a question. Do you think that course correction is going to be more organic, or are you going to think it's going to be more out of need? Like KS will talk about how like societies in Asia and Japan, and women are just starting to die alone and finding people in their houses by themselves dead for weeks because no one knew they were there. Is that going to be more of an organic thing, or is it going to be, okay, I have to be with someone in order to survive in this world?
No, I think that in the culture that we have today, and in Western society, we've civilized the world so much to where that's not as much of a problem. What survival? What are you talking about? We're not out here going and we're not hunter-gatherers no more.
Not to that extreme of that, but you look at what the average person makes. You look at the cost of living. If you're not making a certain amount of money, it's hard to. You'll be sleeping in your car.
That don't matter. The middle class is going away anyway.
That's my point.
I don't care. Listen, I don't care if whether you get a man and y'all combine, and this is just my personal opinion, and y'all making $90,000 together or not. I believe that this generation will probably be one of the last to truly experience what a middle class truly is. So I don't think it's going to make no difference either way.
All right. W, I'm gonna go ahead and drop you and get some more people up. Okay. Thank you so much for calling. I appreciate you. Let's see. Alan, can you hear me? You know, Metro PCS is just not good for everybody. I don't know why people still are in cricket. I'll get him back. Let's do Better You Life Coaching. What is going on? Good to see you again.
Hello. How are you doing?
Good. What you got for me? What you got on the topic? I know I went over a lot.
Oh no, it is, but I think it all does tie back to a central theme, and I think that we place value and emphasis on the wrong things a lot of times as a people. Kind of like how I mentioned in my super chat, I think we kind of, in a lot of ways, we prize and reinforce behaviors of foolishness in the Black community, and it's not really about whether she was digging that guy or not, because honestly, might not have been the person for her. And even like Ton said, damned if you do, damned if you don't. And that's definitely a damned situation there. But I feel like there are so many that overlook those qualities, like what you were saying the other day on the Lapeef Let's Talk show, and how in 2 minutes that guy, with a lot of his accomplishments, showed a certain level of drive, ambition, confidence, and even future aspirations that really I don't think you can accurately assess and dismiss in the course of like a minute.
Yeah, I understand. I think because I never really thought what Anton said about the course correction. I don't know what I think about that. I mean, I'm optimistic, but it's like, because where in time have we seen that?
This is the thing with what he's talking about. I holistically agree. It's kind of the ebb and flow of history, and this is uncharted territory in terms of societal dynamics. But typically, the way it tends to go is you swing between ultra liberal, ultra conservative patterns, and eventually you kind of get to a point where you start to get into a bit of an equilibrium, and it's really tinkering around the edges in one direction or another. I think what we're going to see is a lot of these twerking grandmas and whatnot, and a lot of younger folks are going to be like, yeah, I don't want that.
The twerking grandmas, and it's like legit a thing. So.
Oh, I know. Yeah. Hey, they out here.
I mean, everything is cyclical. Every single thing is cyclical. Hairstyles, clothing, finance, the stock market. And I always say that the problem with people is that we don't get to live 1,000 years, right? So we don't really get to implement in our lifetime or course correct to the point to where we don't continuously go through this cycle, but instead we just continue to evolve and the game stay the same. The players just change. And so what you start to see is that stock market crash back in the 1920s or whatever. Today, nobody looks back at that and references it in order to be able to learn a lesson to understand that the market always comes back. So as a result, we still have this gambler's mentality. And then you have people that panic. Like, for example, right now, what's happening in the economy and the stocks went down and everybody panicked. And as usual, they didn't learn from the pandemic. They didn't learn from 2008. They didn't learn from the stock market crash in 2000 and the 80s, so on and so forth. And so as a result, you have new people playing in the game and they still do the same thing. And that's why the rich is still implementing the same strategies of getting richer, poor, poor. We don't necessarily learn the lessons, but we are always cyclical. So what will happen is the economy will come back, right? You'll have a new person in office. Think about it like this. Why do we get disappointed with the other party and then elect the opposite party and then we go and elect another opposite party every time that we get somebody in office? They was mad with, they didn't care for Obama and they brought in Trump and then they said, well, we don't care for Trump. And then they went back to Biden. It's all cyclical. Everything that happens is cyclical. The only reason why this is more polarizing is that women just have really started to get some level of equalization and power when it comes to societal standards. So this is really the first time that you're witnessing it happen with women in this capacity, this dynamic. It's all cyclical. It's going to be fine. Everything is going to course correct, and then it's going to go bad again, and then it's going to course correct, and it's just going to be the same thing over and over again.
That was a quick question from me.
Yeah, and then I'm going to drop it down and get some more people if that's okay.
So do you think that really it's not necessarily an immaturity thing, but what we're seeing may be a result of that empowerment as it relates to women, and not necessarily that they're immature or in some way ignorant of their actions and the results, but really that they don't want to acquiesce or feel they have to give up some of that power in order to be with a man?
Well, the interesting thing about it is that if you're a man and you winning, you don't really give a fuck whether or not a woman give up that power or not, because you're winning.
No. I'm not talking from a man's perspective. I'm saying from a woman's perspective, like what you think it is.
Go ahead, Courtney.
Well, I was going to say, it's not either or. So yes, women are more empowered, but that doesn't stop the level of immaturity that we're in. And quite frankly, it magnifies how immature we have been, because with this power, what have we done with it? We fucked up a lot of stuff. We're not mature to understand that, yes, we've been given a lot of, again, blame it on feminism, can blame it on whatever. But now that we have these equal rights that we wanted so much for men, but yet we're not mature enough to understand how to even handle it. And look at white women. They started the feminist movement, but they were matured enough to know that they was marching, taking off bras, but then they went back to their husband. They're mature enough to still know that they're still getting married, and their percentage is more than us. When back in the day, it was more Black women that was married. This didn't start changing until literally the 60s, 70s, and 80s. More Black women were married than white women. But even through the feminists and even through the power that we have, we've declined. So it's still immaturity to understand that we don't even see what the other people are doing. We've lost it. So, Anton, do you have anything else to say on that, or I'm gonna?
No, honestly, I think it's a good thing.
What's a good thing?
Women are becoming more modern.
Chicken, why are you saying yes? Anyway, I'm gonna drop you down. Let me get some more people.
Okay.
And
I
Alan,
think it's a good thing that women are becoming more modern.
I think it's a good thing too. I think it separates what we've been trying to say for a long time. Like, for example, the modernization of women hasn't affected my life directly, but it has most definitely affected people that I know, and also, the younger men of my generation. The reason why it hasn't affected me directly is because, again, I'm new to YouTube, relatively new in a sense. So I always moved in the world. Like I walked and talked to people, and I never had any issues with these women, quote unquote, submitting. And I make this joke every time to like my girl and my dad, because he's seen it. Like everyone's seen this. I think every single girl that I've ever been with is cooked for me, or has brought me a plate or something. Like they've treated me well. And so it's a weird thing where it's like, okay, I do see what you guys are saying, but at the same time, I think the innate nature of women is a front. Like I think a lot of the things that they say and do today, they don't really want, because you hear it in the news. Why aren't men being chivalrous anymore? Who's offering me a seat? Who's going to do this? There's still aspects of femininity and expectations of a man that's always going to be there. So the more things change, the more they stay the same. I think the factors that have really amplified or really, exacerbated what we see is social media and technology. But if you take those things away, it's the exact same thing. So, like Anton was saying, it is cyclical because women are the same. They say certain things, but you just got to watch what they do and look at what they want, because they don't treat every guy the same. They really don't. And
Well, all you got to do is ask yourself this question.
Yeah.
Or think about this.
Yeah.
Are the majority of men complaining about modern women because they're concerned about modern women, or because they're concerned about themselves?
Themselves.
It isn't. The majority of men complaining about modern women because they're concerned about the women. They genuinely want the best for them, and they don't want them to be single mothers and so on and so forth. Are they complaining, or are they having these conversations because it directly affects them?
Yeah, it directly affects them.
Oh Lord.
All right.
Yeah.
Let me get Alan in, and let me pop this up because just in case the people don't know.
Value.
Oh,
So
no.
similarly, the whole idea of dying alone, I think it's a counterproductive way of putting it, but I understand what they're trying to say, because unfortunately, our women are unwilling to compromise. And they're unwilling to look past the fact, going to average the best girl, that this man doesn't make six figures, because most people do not. And I need to respect him for his leadership skills, for his integrity, for his ability to be a good father, for his ability to provide and protect, and everything else outside of the amount of zeros there in his bank account. But women aren't willing to admit that. So if you're not willing to admit that, then you will inevitably end up by yourself.
Well, this is my question. So what? If she doesn't want to compromise, if that woman that average at best wants this type of man, let her try. Let her fail. And you can't change a person to what they want, even though you can see, man, that ain't gonna work out. So what? I feel like in this space, we women are, you guys are delusional, and you need to look for this man, and you need to be finding this man. And I get it, because being rational, that makes sense. But I also see like another side. I think it's men that are these 40K a year, 50K a year. These men are wanting to bash it in women's head so they get a chance to be looked at. So if I make you feel ashamed of wanting what you want, then maybe I can bring you down to reality so you can look at me now.
Courtney, is that not literally address the question that I just asked?
That's crazy. Alan. So that was Alan. I was on his platform saying it, but it's obviously very timely of what we're talking about now. Alan, what do you have to say about all this? And you talked to her, and we've had these conversations.
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, right, this is bigger than what I have to gain. This is bigger than what men benefit. I think the main benefit to men these days, with modern women, is that modern women are easier to sleep with. That's the main benefit. But from a community standpoint, what's happening, and I actually want to go against what Anton said. This is unprecedented. When you look at the numbers, when you look at the disposition with these women, I've been interviewing women since college. It's unprecedented, and a lot of what we're seeing is consistent with women, young, old, rich, poor. Our women there's a baked in, and I talked about this yesterday with Dr. Tia Johnson on my channel. There's a baked in disdain. There's a baked in superiority complex. There's a baked in trivialization of Black men, their utility, and their issues. And it only serves to the detriment of our women, because at the end of the day, we have situations like women relying on their children as retirement plans, women turning their sons into son husbands. So at the end of the day, it's the women that are going to suffer. So when people say that, oh, men are just complaining because women aren't giving them any play, or women aren't, showing them any love, I've been surprised to find that the majority of my audience is married. The majority of my audience is, even Dr. Tia Johnson himself, he's a widower. So these aren't men who are, begging for women to look at them. These are men who are looking at what the state of our community is, and they're afraid for their sons. They're afraid for their daughters. So this is bigger than just, oh, incels ain't getting no pussy and, this and that. They want to complain. It's really about concerned fathers. And when you look at the data, even when you look at some of my interviews, these things are consistent. This is bad. And I think we often minimize how bad it is.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
When in history have people not had kids as a source of either using them to be able to work for the family, such as farming and things like that, or for them to be able to take care of them when they get older? In history.
When in history have people or women?
Women, people, either or.
Yeah, so back in history, it was about carrying on a family legacy. It wasn't about, compromising your family that you're creating to serve your old mother. That's what's happening now. So that's unprecedented.
I have to disagree. I think that historically people have always had children for selfish reasons, and it had nothing to do with them carrying on a family legacy or passing something on to them. They have always been selfish and using children, mom husbands, we label it differently now, but historically people have had children for their own separate reasons. And the only thing that you're seeing now is that we have more visibility and more platforms for us to be able to communicate this effectively to each other across the board via the internet. And then B, we're labeling it different, and we're civilizing the world, and we're making it more modern. So when you see people communicating and they're illustrating their concerns, they're doing it out of the convenience of them being able to get to a certain point in their life to where they no longer worry about the same things that the people worried about yesteryear. And so now the concerns change. People are always going to be concerned about their children one way or another. There's never been a time in history where people have not been concerned about their children. There's never been a time in history where men were not willing to marry off their daughter for a specific reason out of concern for A, B, C, or D. You can literally go overseas right now and a man is willing to sell his daughter to you in order to make sure that he's feeding his family. There is no point in history where people have not selfishly used children for their own benefit, but then we label it differently because we operate out of convenience, and we've civilized Western society so much to where we can then have these conversations when you combine it with the technology that we have. So I don't think that it's any different. I think that we're operating out of convenience of having the conversation. And just because we want to label it differently, or we're identifying a specific segment of the audience as watching it, does not change the narrative. Humans have not changed. We've always done things for our own selfish reasons. And I believe that that's what you're seeing happening today.
What, for the sake of this argument, what is your definition of selfish?
Selfish is doing things for your own benefit, not necessarily for people as a whole.
So I think, that's relative. So first of all, I don't I don't believe in altruism. I don't think people do good for goodness sake, right? But I do think people are selfish, and sometimes that selfishness is for the greater good, whether the good of my family name, whether the good of my family in particular, or the good of the community. The difference that I'm talking about is our selfishness went from things that were macro and productive to things that now are self-serving. That is unprecedented. People used to talk about, I'm Nigerian, right? So even in my community today, people look at things from a perspective of this thing that I'm going to do, what is it going to say about my family? We care about our family name, whatever the case may be. I think you can make the argument that it's selfish, but it's a selfishness that's more productive on the macro. This selfishness we're seeing in 2022 is not productive on the macro. When we look at, we're talking earlier about the Black community. The reason why there's no sense of a Black community is because we don't feel any shared responsibility for one another. So when I'm talking to these women, I think part of the reason I've been successful is because they can genuinely see that I care. They can genuinely see I'm not trying to sleep with you. I don't want any of your money. I care because I see that the way that you're going is going to be to your detriment. So I think, if we're not having this conversation or these conversations from an aspect of I want the best for the community, and the ways that we are operating right now are to the detriment of this community, there's really no point talking. Because I don't care about the dudes who are just looking at it as what they can gain or what's in it for them. I look at it as the dudes who, even though it might be easier for me to go get me a white woman, I care about. I know Frederick Douglass. I know Malcolm X, Minister Farrakhan. I care about the Black community. So I want to keep my dollars and I want to keep my love within the Black community. Anybody else, if you want convenience, I think it's better to go to Thailand.
See, I think,
so again, I'm not talking to those people.
But let me just respond to this 1 second, Courtney.
Okay, and I have a question.
I think that you're absolutely positively wrong. The reason that people they don't have a sense of community today is because they're no longer interdependent on it for them to be able to survive. People had to gather according to their tribes, figuratively speaking, in order for them to benefit. You don't see that today. And what you're seeing often at times when people are having these conversations and they change or they add different context to what they define as selfish, again, it's out of convenience because people have often grown to a space to where they're no longer selfish in the capacity in which it personally benefits them. So if you take somebody, right, that's operating under duress, what usually happens is they're selfish personally, right? And then I often say you got to be selfish before you're selfless, meaning that you got to get your own self together before you even start to focus on and look at what everybody else is doing as a whole, because that's a luxury. And then once you grow to a point to where you're actually operating out of abundance, then you have the convenience to start to look at things as a whole, your macro argument, and then say, well, I'm concerned about the Black community, because the overwhelming majority of people here in Western society has operating out of abundance for the sake of conversation when we're comparing it to the rest of the world, because we've civilized society so much, and combine the fact that we're no longer interdependent on one another in order to thrive or survive. You can't even have that argument anymore. It doesn't even make sense. It does not work. And I think that what you're seeing people do is have conversations based off of the fact that they've grown to a point to where they're no longer selfish in the capacity that you're trying to define. And let's be clear, most people that are having these conversations, they're not familiar with the people that you look at as inspiration. They're not referencing the leaders of yesteryear. They don't care anything about them. They don't know them. They don't study them. They don't understand them. They have no concept of what they stood for. And so when we're talking about people, you have to speak a lot of times to the majority of how they move, and the majority of people that we're trying to reach, or even the majority of the people that say they're concerned, they have no sense of understanding of what they're concerned about, because the thing that you're referencing, they're completely disconnected from it in the first place. So how can we even make that argument?
Well, let me ask you a question first, because let's just say some men are wanting the incels, for lack of a better term. that are wanting women to get it together because they are wanting them for their own personal reasons. Because, I want a Black woman, they ain't acting right, so whip them into shape. Or those that are on your platform that are married, that are caring about their sons, wanting the best for the community as a whole. Does it necessarily matter the reasons why, just as long as the end results, again, what I talked about earlier, is that women are coming to a place of trying to be mature earlier and focus on family first, because the end result is still going to be the end result, which is us marrying and having a nuclear family. So does the reason necessarily matter?
It always matters.
Okay.
Why always matters. Always.
The why. But why, if it's the same end result, and the result of whether you're marrying for love, marrying for money, marrying because it's family name, family legacy, the idea is that it's still a union that is still creating Black families.
But let me tell you why the why matters. Because the why is going to determine whether or not that union stays together or not.
Respectfully, I think you're contradicting yourself.
Okay.
Because I think I'm a big fan of, and I think this is kind of what you alluded to. The airplane analogy. If we lose cabin pressure, put the mask on yourself before you do anybody else. I'm a fan of that. But I think if we are going to encourage people to adopt a selfish paradigm or perspective or approach, and then later on hope that they become selfless or they become community oriented, we've never seen that work. So part of the conversation that I'm having is I'm not like, even if you look at my subscribers, I don't attract the incels. I don't attract the black pill guys. I get DMs sometimes saying that I need to be harsher with the women. And I actually respond to them. So the point is, I approach this from a Afrocentric Pan-African perspective. I'm not a hotep, but I understand that, we need each other, whether we realize it or not, whether it's we need each other for the, mental or emotional gratification. We need each other. So if I'm not starting from the perspective of I am a part of a larger organism, whether we call it the Black community or the Pan-African global community, whatever the case may be, if you're not starting from that perspective, then you're having, in my opinion, a small conversation of women are behaving or are misbehaving. The conversation that I'm having is the power structure has weaponized our dysfunction against us. And part of that weaponization, Dr. T.S. Johnson, yesterday, he mentioned it, and which is brilliant. At the very same time that our women were being encouraged to go to school, our men were being locked up at exponential rates. So we can't ignore context when we're having these conversations. So to your point, most people don't know Frederick Douglass and Marcus Garvey and the whole nine. My job is to put it in context and to educate them about it. And I feel like if we're having small conversations without a larger perspective, and if we're going to say that history is cyclical, it's important that we understand history. If we're not doing that, then we're wasting our time. So for me, I have a daughter. I'm afraid for what the prospects for her are going to be, for friends, for romantic relationships, and the whole nine. So it's bigger. I've never had issues with women. I've had issues with the types of behaviors that women incentivize. I've had issues with being deserving of a certain type of decorum from women, not just romantic interests, but women in general in the community, but still being minimized as, oh, who does he think he is, right? And I know every Black man has experienced that. So we're having a very large conversation, and it is incumbent upon us to understand the context of that conversation so we can really speak to what's really going on, as opposed to thinking that, oh, it's women that are the problem, it's men that are the problem. No, it's the white power structure that's the problem, and it's pit us against each other. And it's important that we educate ourselves to understand why that is and how we undo it.
Well, I mean, I completely
hold that thought. I want to get
I knew it.
In. Hold that thought. Think over how are you? Thank you for holding on.
Greetings, everyone. Thank you for having me on. I'm very excited to be here. I've been following you for a little while. I'm not as consistent. I'm in London. So the time difference is early evening here. So yeah.
I understand. Well, what do you got for us? I know we're dissecting a lot here this time.
Well, I've been in and out, and I did agree a little bit with what Anton Daniel said right at the beginning when he was saying, you know, we just expect trust from brothers. I was like, that's bringing balance to the conversation when I come in at that point. However, I have been falling out of agreement with my dear brother. But I am a Pan-African sister with We Need to Talk on YouTube, definitely. And I think the solutions is us putting in that work. So like Brother Anton said, everything is circular, it always comes back around. So in that way, we have to recognize that we have work to do. We have to shift the paradigm and we have to create the institutions that we need. And a lot of the time we don't look at it as that. So we're talking as parents. Some of us are parents. What does the future look like? The brother just said, you know, what does her friendship circles look like? We have to be more intentional with the environments that we're creating for our children and know how that develops with their development. A lot of the time our children gets to become a teenager and we're like, oh, well, they're old enough now, and we just let them out there. No, we still have to create spaces for those social circles. When we look at when the brother was talking, I'm not sure which brother said it, but he said he's from Nigeria. Now I know a lot of the time there's this whole continent and America versus situation. We have it in England, Caribbean versus Africa, whatever. This is a cultural conversation, and we need to look at, when we do educate ourselves, we see it. We see our roots everywhere. So if you are from the South, you see your African roots and you see your culture and you see your community. And throughout the ages, for us to be who we are today, there has been people that was in their 20s, 30s, and 40s that gave up time to make sure they created spaces for their community, whether it was the young or the old, so people could socialize in whichever different capacity that served the community. If we're not proactive in what we want to see, it is not going to manifest. And the brother is correct. We are in different times. It's not going to just self-correct. It's not going to self-correct. So if we're not, I get frustrated with my generation. I'm in my early 40s. So I'm a late 70s baby. I get frustrated with my generation because we know better and we complain the most. We are lazy. I'm not saying we don't have people that do the work. I am part of organization. Organization is the way forward. No matter how you want to look at it, we have to organize to strategize and manifest and build. There's no two ways about it. When we look at other cultures and we say, the brother Anton said, the why is important. Like We Need to Talk said, the why is important because the context, why are we doing this work? You can't just marry for your own individual reason, because now we're talking about our children. So we all have a stake in it if you want to look at it as selfishness. I need Brother Anton to be a correct parent. I need Sister Courtney to be a correct mother. I need Brother Cheeky Banter to be a correct father, and a cousin and an uncle and a brother, because you're all going to impact people that you're around. And that is how we influence the community. So it's in my best interest. So when all the children was in my house, tearing down my house, and everybody else's house was looking pristine, I might have been annoyed, but now all these children are 18 and I am Auntie Nahanda. And if they have problems, they speak to me. I can collect them as a group and say, we're going to go and see this play and we're going to go to this talk and we're going to have this debate. They're going to talk to me about their sexual experiences before they even happen. We're going to create environments so we can talk about their sexual development. We have to be in charge of our lives. We see what's going on. I see the pain of my brothers and sisters in America. I see the pain of my brothers and sisters all over the world. We have to start where we stand and do some work. And that's my little rant.
I love it. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. And I like it. And I mean, this is good dialogue. I think it's absolutely helpful on the resolve. I think it's interesting is that we understand the end goal, but should the end goal, what is the purpose of the end goal and how do we get it? But the whys and in that end goal, is it sustainable? So I appreciate you, my sis. Thank you very much. Oh, girl, I'm gonna drop you down, boo. Alan, you still there? Anton, did you have a rebuttal for Alan before I
honestly lost my train of thought.
okay, yeah.
But I mean, you know, it's good dialogue. So
I think so. So
I respect what he's saying, and I think that he communicates well. I think that we fundamentally disagree on some things, but I do respect what he's saying.
Yeah, there's some good men up here. Look at my 3 black good men. Cheeky, you're a little, you know, we working on you.
What did I do? That's crazy. Because I'm not 40 yet.
Yeah, right. So I'm not gonna take any more calls. I'm gonna drop you two down. I'm gonna keep Alan up because we had the conversation on him. So I want to dialogue about what he thought about it, and then I'm gonna wrap up, you guys. I got a cookout to go to. Okay, we don't get you for nothing.
Me too. I'm about to go get my beard done up, and I'm about to head out into the street to see what's happening out here.
Y'all brother be safe, man.
All right.
Man,
Thank you, Tiki. I love you. Tiki, I'm gonna get you hooked up with Alan.
Okay.
Y'all have a lot in common too.
Oh, really?
All right. Y'all do. I think it's I am. That's all I gotta say. Bye.
See you.
My darling.
How are you?
Good.
I pulled over to a Chick-fil-A just so I could talk to you.
Thank you. I meant to hit you up. I didn't know I was going to do this. I know I was going to react to yours, and I meant to do this on Wednesday.
Yeah.
But then so much stuff started kind of happening where for me, I was seeing kind of a theme. And then I just said, I'm just going to go live today. But the theme for me has been the time part is where I'm spiritually led to talk about.
Yeah.
And I think your ministry has always been just getting more in depth in the conversations and making them more purposeful. So you were able obviously to talk to the I don't want to keep calling her Pineapple. It's Jalea.
Jalea, yeah.
Jalea. What did you think about the conversation? And I don't want to even just because it was just a conversation, but I think again it's bigger than
it's a case study.
What you did. Absolutely.
Yeah.
What did you think as far as with your interaction with Jalea?
First of all, I was impressed that she was even willing to come on. I think a lot of times people assume that it's going to be a bashing session. Maybe she watched some of my content and she realized that, okay, that's not what we do here. But I was really excited that she was able to come on. I wasn't necessarily surprised, right? I think any brother who has sisters or who has dealt with Black women in an American context, they understand or they're familiar with the arrogance. They're familiar with the, you really can't tell me nothing. So I was surprised that she was actually willing to listen, right? She wasn't combative. She wasn't, I think at the end of the day, she still might not have fully understood or grasped the gravity of what we were saying. But I think at least she was willing to talk. And I think that's kind of, I think that's the most we can ask for right now. I think at some point it's going to hit her different, but I'm just excited that it happened.
Yeah. So, well, tell me why, because you said it was a case study. And for me, I think it's deeper. Surface level, I think people were getting out of it. The nice guys always finish last, and, you know, women don't know what they want. So those talking points, I think it's surface level, but I think it's a
Yeah.
lot deeper than that. Why were you excited that this happened?
Well, I think first of all, the problem or my biggest critique with the manosphere is it tends to be headed by people who might not have had luck with women. And because they haven't had luck with women, they're not actually familiar with female psychology. They don't know how to talk to women, right? So part of my ministry is just modeling what proper dialogue looks like and how to really get down into the gristle of who people are and who women are, Black women in particular. I think one of the things that I've been trying to relate to women, and I think you did a phenomenal job when you and her spoke, is that women, essentially based on how society values women, women are like athletes, right? They're really valuable in their peak, and then as they age and they lose their vert, they lose their speed, they lose their strength, they're not as valuable anymore. Now, for women, it's fertility, it's agreeableness, it's all the things that men value, society values at large. Unfortunately, based on nature, you lose it as you age. And I think when you're 23, it's hard to grasp that. I think when you put it in a different context, like athletes or whatever the case may be, it might be easier to understand. But essentially, what you and I were trying to tell her was this juice that you have now will not last for always. This $1 million contract that you have right now will not last for always. So are you investing it properly? Are you prioritizing the right things? In men, are you prioritizing qualities that lead to good father and good long-term partner? Or are you prioritizing things that lead to good entertainment? Right. So for her, I think just the fact that I was able to say that to her, another woman was able to say that to her, whether it hits her today or tomorrow, I think at some point, maybe in the middle of the night, she starts thinking, oh shit, I don't have as much juice as I had in 2022. Maybe they were right. Maybe I should have invested in my personality and in my character and everything else. And I should have prioritized some of the attributes in men that lead to long-term success.
Yeah, I agree. I think even having the conversation and the dialogue, even though it's, one could say that maybe she didn't get it or it didn't click. But it's also the idea of planting a seed. And if not her, then you don't know who this is getting out to. Again, it's, our image and what we say matters because people are looking.
Right.
And we don't know who, and you don't know what seeds that we're planting in women and in men. So this dialogue, I think, is absolutely important. And, I talk about Kevin Samuels, and they can say whatever you want, but he planted a seed. I wouldn't be here, honestly, if it wasn't for that seed that was planted. And then it started growing in these conversations. It's flourishing. So yeah, these conversations are important. And Alan, I think that you're important.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
No, I was just going to add something. I think, again, I look at this from a macro perspective. And one of the things that I think we often kind of minimize is that when we look at human history, when we look at human nature, part of the primary inspiration for men doing anything worth a damn throughout history has been women in some way, shape, or form. Has been your ability to rise up the social hierarchy so you're more attractive to women, has been your ability to gain or garner respect with men so you look better to women, so you're able to mate in the whole nine. Even in the animal kingdom, one of the primary perks of being a quote unquote alpha male is that you get to mate first. So with that being said, one of the things that's terrifying me, and even to, this whole nuclear physicist situation, is that our current culture, our current society of women is incentivizing behaviors in men that are counterproductive. Counterproductive to those men in particular and counterproductive to the community in general. We need more nuclear physicists. We do not need more rappers. We need more tech guys. We do not need more trappers. And if we continue on this path of incentivizing behaviors that are going to lead to, oh, it's going to be a good time in the short term, as opposed to who's going to develop and maintain the infrastructure of our world at large and our community in particular, we're going to look around and be like, oh, where are all the good men at?
Mm-hmm.
Not understanding that when those 15, 14-year-old boys were watching who was being successful and who wasn't, we were pushing them to become more counterproductive. We were pushing them to do things that added zero value to the community or themselves. I've had comments of dudes who say that, listen, the reason why I ended up living a certain life and I ended up in prison is because I was trying to impress women. So we can't understate the incredible power that women have. Women are literally gatekeeping the next generation. And if you continue to replicate bums and you continue to incentivize bum behavior, in 2020, 2040, 2050, our community is going to be full of bums. And that's serious. That is serious. So it's bigger than, and this is what I told Jalea, it's bigger than, oh, he doesn't have any personality. No, the main point is our women have now been socialized to see the potential for a drug dealer to become a nuclear physicist as opposed to the potential for a nuclear physicist to have a personality. You're compromising one way or the other, but instead you are prioritizing bullshit. You're prioritizing nonsense in your evaluation process.
Yeah.
It's like I'm gonna see if I like you first, and then I'm gonna look at your resume. As opposed to any freaking company you go to, before they even get to the, are you a good cultural fit? You have to at least have this level of education, the whole nine. So that is the, because I believe in epigenetics. You know, people talk about, oh, just because your dad was a bum doesn't mean you're not gonna be a bum. No, 10 times out of 10, and I'm just being cynical. If you come from bum DNA, you're gonna be a bum.
Mm-hmm.
So if our women continue to replicate bum DNA, and for me, what I've been telling them is literally, when you look at statistical information, you look at medical information, childbirth is one of the deadliest things you can do. Is this man worth risking your life to clone? And our women right now are more willing to risk their life on failed rappers than potential nuclear physicists. It is insane. It is absolutely insane. And that's part of the girl power, and we can do all bad all by ourselves. Pink Book Lesson, she said something I thought was brilliant. Our women's lulled us into sleeping and thinking that, oh, you don't need a man. Oh, you don't need a man till the hurricane hits. You don't need a man to the apocalypse. You don't need a man until you can't pick up the phone and call an electrician or whatever the case may be. And it's our community who fell for the okie doke.
Yeah, we did. Why do you know, for the life of me, and once I come up with a theory, I'll go do a show about it. But how is it that we got so susceptible to separating us as far as the Black woman, the Black man, not putting family first, community first? How did we fall for the okie doke when they were the ones that implanted it in our heads as if they were doing it? But it turns out it was really just us that took it and ran with it.
So, and this is why it's important that we have the proper historical context when we're having these conversations, because when you look at the civil rights movement, for instance, James Baldwin, right? James Baldwin was a gay man.
Yes.
You can barely find anything about him talking about being gay because he was focused on talking about being Black. But guess what they did? They used feminism, they used LGBTQ to break up and dismantle the civil rights movement. Because it's more profitable to the power structure if you identify with being a feminist, or you identify with being LGBTQ, or something else that takes you away from your Black identity, as opposed to identifying with Black. Because if you have to deal with black people as a conglomerate, that's a lot to deal with. But I can deal with the LGBTQ blacks, and I could deal with the female blacks. And what we fail to realize is, because one of the questions I ask on my show, do you consider yourself a woman who happens to be black or a black person who happens to be a woman? One of the things we fail to realize is that you can steal people if you can give them something to cling on to associate with you, and you can manipulate them. Tim Wise talks about how poor white people were tricked away from their solidarity with poor black people because the white oligarchs told them to identify with their whiteness. Whiteness did not exist until motherfuckers looked out on the plantation and figured out, oh shit, these niggas and these poor white people are outnumbering us. So how can we make them identify with us? That is exactly what feminism did in our community. That is exactly what the Rainbow Coalition did in our community. And again, if we miss that context, we think that, oh, it's black men have been misogynistic towards black women and this and that. Now, black men, we have our faults, absolutely. But when we're looking at this from a community standpoint, if we're not on the same page and we're not identifying the same enemy, we're going to bicker amongst ourselves.
Yeah, it's funny you should mention that, because I actually say that a lot. And even with my daughter, I told her, before I knew you was going to be a boy or a girl, I knew you was going to be a black child. So I did that in her, and even, with me, and I used to back in the day be a protester. You could see me marching. Now, not so much. I'm way conservative now on that part. But my identity comes from, family, but also what part of that is culture. And again, before I knew who she was in my womb, I knew she was going to be black. Yeah. And so community has always been important to me because of that. There's women around the world, but we're a small knit community here in the States, and it's dissipating. So I'll pull this up too, because I think we pull a lot. Family is leaving, and even with our women and men at times, let's see if I can. So the percent of childless women, it's a lot. You hear it all the time, all these women having all these kids. It's really not the case. 40% of black women between the ages of 15 to 50 don't have kids. The black birth rate is at an all-time low. For the past 40 years, it's been on a decline. So even with our family structures that are unstructured, we're not even creating black families either to even try to get it right for the next generation. We're even on a decline on that. So for me, it's not when, if we continue on, the black families that we do have are not in one unit, and we're not even creating any black families to continue on. Where does that leave us? And it'll leave us with no community.
Absolutely. And, I think part of the rebuttal that I get sometimes is, well, these white men want us, we'll divest in the whole nine. And I think, what a lot of our women are failing to realize is that statistically, that's not the case. Nobody loves you as much as black men.
Right.
Statistically speaking. And it's interesting because I was having a conversation, a couple reached out to me, and they run a travel channel. I can't remember their name off the top of my head. But they were saying that, when they're traveling, they see a bunch of black women. And they see them, quote unquote, living up, taking these pictures that make people jealous on Instagram. But like, this magical man that these women think they're going to find overseas doesn't exist, because they go to Thailand and realize that motherfuckers are living off $1 a day. They realize that a rich man in Thailand makes $40,000 a year. So everything that you were demeaning men for back home, everything that you were trivializing men for back home, you're running away thinking you're going to find better, but you can't outrun your bullshit.
Right.
Right.
No.
So even when we look at dating, yeah, when we look at like dating apps, the truth is nobody is choosing black women like black men. Nobody's marrying black women like so this myth that, oh, it's because black women are they're solidarily standing behind black and they're not losing hope. White men want to fuck you. White men want to, you know what I'm saying? They'll do that. They've been doing that. But are they marrying you in large numbers? We see these couples on YouTube and on Instagram. The only reason why they're famous is because it's a attractive black woman and a white dude.
Mm-hmm.
And it's overinflated our sense of, oh, that happens more than we see. Or we see a woman who, she gave up on black men, so now she's dating black women who act like black men. Or then she gives up on that, and now she's dating white dudes who act like black men. It's ridiculous. You're trying to outrun your problems as opposed to like interacting with what is wrong with me. Why do I keep gravitating to attracting, settling for, joining in partnership with this type of dude? Why do I find them interesting? That's my question to women. Like, you guys were together for however many years. What the hell were y'all talking about? If he was stupid, he wasn't shit, or whatever the case may be, he was smart enough to captivate your attention.
Right.
Or maybe, and this is to Dr. Tiersan Johnson's point yesterday, maybe he was a husband's son. He was a man that was just insecure enough, just unsuccessful enough that you knew you could control. So essentially, he was your personal pit bull that you could have sex with, as opposed to somebody that you revere, you look up to, and you actually like are enthusiastic about following their leadership. So like this is so much more nuanced and so much more multi-layered than I think we have acknowledged. And shout out to Anton. I didn't mean to like minimize what he was saying, but it's levels to this. And the main thing too, right? Somebody made the point the other day, like black families do not serve the white power structure. Number one, from just the optics itself, it's scary. White people have been afraid of us retaliating since time immemorial. Number two, I can make more money having 2 people in 2 apartments than 2 people in 1. Number three, women are the largest consumer base. So if I continue to pump their head full of your sister, mother, goddess, you can do no wrong, you're benevolent, the whole nine, I can continue selling them bullshit that they don't need. I can continue making a shit ton of money when all of their girlfriends get together and go to Miami or go to brunch every Sunday. So it is literally in the white power structure's benefit for us to continue to be dysfunctional, for our men to continue to feel inferior, and for our women to continue to feel superior. It is literally in their benefit. So if we care about what kind of outcomes our kids are going to have, what kind of outcomes we're going to have when we're elderly, it's important that we're looking at this from a community standpoint, because everything we're doing is literally working in their benefit.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's facts. It's more beneficial for us to be apart than together.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think learning more, listening more, it becomes like a Pandora's box. And the indoctrination in our heads and what we perceive as reality, it's just, and even as women, this power that we have, and we do have a lot of power. We just are using it incorrectly, immaturely, and I don't know. It's weird because it sometimes, and I've felt this way a lot of times, where it's like you want to do something, you just don't know how to do it or what the hell to do, but you just see a thing, and you and you just want to shake a nigga.
Right. I think
feel that way.
No, absolutely, and I think this is where historical context really matters. So, a lot of people have never learned about Marcus Garvey, right? So Marcus Garvey was a Jamaican. who came to the United States and led one of the biggest movements in like 1913. Like the nigga had audacity, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that he did that blew my mind, two things, I'm sorry, that he did that blew my mind. Number one, he was a Pan-Africanist. So he actually, I think, was the originator of the Pan-African movement.
Right.
He wanted to buy a ship so that African Americans and Africans on the continent could trade with one another.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know the level of audacity that is?
Mm-hmm.
He wanted to buy a merchant ship in 1915. Like, and the other thing he did is that he bought a toy factory to create and manufacture black baby dolls because he wanted black little girls to see themselves and to reestablish a paradigm of beauty that didn't depend on white as right.
Mm-hmm.
Another person, Frederick Douglass. Frederick Douglass is one of the most photographed people of his time. And what people don't realize, the reason why that's so important is because Frederick Douglass started out his life as a slave. And through a series of events, he was able to become a prolific speaker and author. He wanted people to see that a black man can be elegant. A black man can be regal. A black man can be intelligent. So when he's taking these pictures, you'll see slave pictures. Their heads are down and their eyes are pointed down and they look sad. No, this man had his shoulders back and his chest up in the 1800s.
Mm-hmm.
So again, like, part of what we're doing and part of why the manosphere is so important is because it reestablishes black audacity. It reestablishes this idea that I am black and I'm beautiful, I'm black and I'm intelligent, I'm black and I'm proud. And that's where we need to start every conversation. So even the fact that you're able to so eloquently articulate what her future holds, so eloquently articulate black male concerns is powerful. It is absolutely powerful. So please do not minimize what you're doing. What you're doing is a lot. And by God, if I can help you do any more, I absolutely will. But this, what we're doing, it's bigger than I think we can recognize right now.
So inspirational. Yeah. So I'm forever going to support you. And I mean, it starts by our voice and our actions. So it's a lot of work to do. And it's a lot of work that I know I need to put in, and that's with self and being an example. Because quite frankly, we don't have any as far as with women for real, like real women.
Right.
We don't have that out there to see.
Right. Right.
And but you're doing the work. That's why I wanted Cheeky Young. He's like 22, 23.
Oh,
and
man.
He's a visionary that needs guidance.
Okay.
But he's just a visionary. And like when I first met, it was just eyes wide open and just what, and I don't, and that eagerness, I think, is something that needs to be held on to and groomed, and so that fire doesn't get burnt out. And sometimes in this space, it can be, depending on who you're listening to and where you're going and who is feeding you. So that's why
I've come up with this theory recently that, manhood is about finding what to die for, right? Like when we look at the idea of provide and protect, a lot of times throughout history, that looked like marching into a coal mine every day, not knowing that you might come out, just to provide a roof and food for your family. Real manhood is really is being able to die well. It's being able to for your kids and your kids' kids to look back and say, you know what, Grandpa was the shit, right? So for me, when we're looking around and we're looking at the world, there's no more worthy cause than Black solidarity. And at the core of that is Black family. And at the core of that is Black male and female cooperation. So I'm not saying this as somebody who, like, I've always been like this. I've absolutely not always. Matter of fact, when I was in college, I joined the NAACP because I needed some leadership, like some involvement. And by chance, at the time, I didn't know shit about NAACP. I promise you, I was like 19. So by chance, they needed new leadership, and I was the only person who said, "All right, fuck it, I'll do it." But it wasn't that deep for me, right? So we would go to Columbia, South Carolina every year during Martin Luther King's birthday, and we would march from a church to the State House, and it was in protest of the flag before it was removed, right? And to be completely honest with you, Courtney, I thought it was a fucking waste of time. I said we can be using this time and these resources to do other good things for the Black community. Now, because of that, and because of, you know, a disposition that I think a lot of Africans, aka non-ADOS, are criticized for, like being condescending and looking down. I was all that, right? Because I was like, these motherfuckers over here, they're not doing enough of what they have, and we come over here from Nigeria and Ghana and whatever, and we do so much better. And then I started studying history, and then I started understanding the context, and then I started considering epigenetics, and I said, oh my God, white people really did a number. Because every single thing, people talk about the Willie Lynch letter, every single thing that was put in place to perpetuate our dysfunction, whether in America or on the continent, was intentional. When you study Haiti, when you study the Congo, all these things were intentional. And even the fact that we can't even get on the same page, even though we're both Black, is intentional. So somebody like me who's like, you know, I'm kind of an asshole. I'm like, nah, fuck that. I'm not going to continue to be this condescending, ignorant idiot that I was about the context that I operate in. It's bigger than me. It's bigger than what's convenient. It's about my generation. It's about my community. Because at the end of the day, everybody, even the motherfuckers who like don't identify as quote unquote Black, when you're around other people who look like you, other people can relate, there's an ease that you feel. I work and I move in spaces where I'm the only Black person, and it feels uncomfortable as fuck. So I care about us doing for us. I care about the reestablishment of Black Wall Street. I care about Black audacity. I care that Black men can stand up straight in this world that wants us hunched over. I care that Black women can be loved authentically, and nobody else is going to do that better than your sons, your husbands. Nobody's going to love you like you. We're a reflection of one another. So this idea we're going to take the, you know, shorter route or whatever the case may be. And again, when you look at some of the things, I don't blame certain brothers who quote unquote save themselves. But for me, there's no more worthy cause to die for. That's real.
Yeah. You know, your platform, I said I look at Black men as superheroes. And I think because there's been no other group of people that has been, or the need to want to tear apart, to want to separate. I mean, it's always been a reason why it's always been really us that has taken the brunt of everything, racism, systematically. And it just, and it's like the whys. And it's like, because we're just so damn powerful. Like there's power in us. And it's just something special that everybody else wants to separate and tear apart.
I'm sorry for cutting you off. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Well, no, I mean, no, you're fine. I just was saying that's why the idea that I think of that, because I don't see anybody else so powerful, and I don't see anybody else that's been so much, that has been attacked more. Like it's a reason why you're attacked.
So one of my favorite things to do, I like to confuse YouTube. And the reason I say that is because, I understand that the algorithm is trying to keep us tuned in as much as it can. So it's going to feed our confirmation bias. It's going to keep us in an echo chamber. It's going to continue to show us shit that we want to see. So I purposefully and intentionally seek out information that I fundamentally disagree with. So, for instance, there's a documentary called Hate Rising. And in this documentary, he explores kind of the pathology of white racists. And what you realize when you start consuming some of this content, Fox News and the whole nine, what you realize is that there's, number one, a fundamental fear, a fear of being obsolete, a fear of not being able to, look around and see yourself in the world, and a fear of retaliation. That's at the core of it. But the second thing, too, is when you look at the history of white people and black people, I think our blessing was our curse, right? I think, when you look at the Congo, for instance, the Congo is the richest country in the world. Every single mineral that you can think of is found in the Congo. It is simultaneously the poorest country in the world. What does that tell you? It tells you that the rest of the world, especially the Caucasians who come from places where there are little to no resources, they have a direct incentive to destabilize that region so they can exploit it for their benefit. If black people get our shit together, white people no longer exist. So they're fighting for their lives, right?
Yeah.
And I think that is very, very, very vital context because, the problem with us, unfortunately, is that we're so blessed. One of the things you'll see in life is necessity breeds innovation. If you don't have to, you won't. You look at, for instance, beautiful people tend to have terrible personalities. They never had to develop it. And for us, we never had to develop really like some of the perverse and complex military and exploitation strategies that white people had to develop. They had to, or they would have died. So when you look at it now, all these generations later, them still seeking out a conquest and conflict and the whole nine, it's literally, unfortunately, it's baked into the fabric of who they are, right? So we're blessed, which makes us a target. If for instance, this whole Pan-African dream, if it actually happened, China would go bankrupt. The United States would go bankrupt. The Great Britain would go bankrupt. That is such vital context in understanding what we're actually doing. That's why when we look at these leaders getting assassinated or getting ran out of the country, or COINTELPRO, for instance, breaking up the Black Panthers, all these things are because they threaten the status quo. And that is white domination and white power in the whole nine, because white people are a global minority. So again, I encourage people to do their due diligence and do this research and be able to zoom out and see the forest, not just the trees. Like, it's vital, because you think, oh, it's just about me and my happiness. Nah, shit's bigger than you, bro. It's bigger than you, sis. And I hope in my little way I can add some context to actually what's happening and how big it is.
Yeah. You're doing a phenomenal job.
Thank you.
You really, really are. So I'm going to wrap it up. I told you I got a barbecue to go to.
Yeah, I got to go. I'm actually interviewing a guy. The reason I'm in Atlanta, he wants us to do something. I'm just going to. It's called The Anatomy of a Deadbeat Dad.
Oh.
So yeah, I'm excited.
Wait a minute. Am I getting an exclusive?
Now you might.
I'm getting an exclusive.
You might.
What is this about? Tell me more.
Well, I mean, we just want to kind of talk about using him as an example and his story as an example. What's been done in family court and in the country to like keep Black men away from their kids.
And this is going to be an interview. It sounds like a documentary.
It might grow into that. You know, I'm still not at the level of YouTube where I
You
can
got
quit
the
my
skills.
job. You know, but that's the thing. I'm still working 40, 50, 60 hours a week. So
Yeah.
eventually that's the goal. But for right now, it might just be like a 30-minute video.
Mm. Well, I'll be on the lookout. So go ahead, get to work. I'll
All right.
chit chat with you later. Thank you so
I
much for pulling up.
appreciate it.
Thank you again for giving me that opportunity to talk to her.
Thank you for pulling up. You made that show.
Oh,
You
what?
made that entire
I
thing.
don't know
You
about
made the
that.
thing. No, that's facts. I stand by it.
Let me get you off because you would just be gassing a little lady here. Get off my platform. Bye. He just gas people up. Just anyway. So man, this, as always, this really, really turns into something that I never have an idea how it's going to go, but the way that it goes is it's always needed. So I just say, let the Lord use you and just be his vessel, and whatever happens, it's going to happen through him. So thank you so much for everyone that pulled up. Special shout out to Alan. We Need to Talk, an amazing platform that has allowed me to grow as well. So thank you for that. Thank you, Anton. Thank you, Cheeky. Thank you, everyone that pulled up. Better You Podcasting. Oh, Lord. Everybody else that did. Brother Macon, thank you. Thank you, everyone in the chat. I will be back with another one. I like to get a little deeper and dive into more stuff. And I appreciate you guys for giving me that opportunity. Black women, Black women, Black women. Oh, shout out TJ too. We have a maturity problem. And under that breeds selfishness. Under that, it's impulsiveness. Our behaviors is that of a child. And there's a lot of growth that we have to do that needs to be done. And it's far beyond thinking that we have time, because we don't. So, yeah, like I said, I'm trying to do my part. So I appreciate you guys so much. Yeah, if you haven't, I'm just rambling now. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Again, this is your girl. I am Courtney Michelle. And until next time, be a blessing. Thank you.